And another exciting Trump rally in Johnstown, Pennsylvania. President Trump en route to Washington, D.C. for the Moms for Liberty event. And thank you, Mr. President, for calling out RSBN. It's a true honor to cover your rallies and to cover all the different events you go to as you continue your path to become the 47th President of the United States, just 67 days away from November 5th, the 2024 presidential election. And we'd like to thank our sponsors, Birch Gold. In these crazy times, there is peace of mind in security. Security for all our country, security for our leaders, and security for our families. And look what I just got a hold of. That silver coin, free fight silver coin, text Trump to 989898. Wow, this is a heavy silver piece. It has the words fight on it with 7/13/24, the assassination attempt on President Donald Trump, and that iconic photo with Secret Service agents surrounding him and the American flag in the background. And on the back, it is our beautiful White House. This is just a magnificent coin. It's really quite beautiful, and it's an honor for me to hold to show you today. Gold and silver are an excellent way to diversify your savings. They're a hedge against inflation. And through my friends at the Birch Gold Group, you can own physical gold and silver in a tax-sheltered retirement account. This is the one thing you can do to secure your family's savings. Text the word Trump to 989898. Plus, in August only, as I mentioned, it's this free fight silver coin. Get a hold of this before they sell out. This is going to be worth so much, already is. Own a monumental piece of history. You don't want to miss your chance to have this special piece of history and the celebration of a leader dedicated to our security, preserved in the security of a precious silver coin. So get that ready today by texting Trump to 989898. And of course, we had the magnificent Matthew Alvarez and the tremendous Titus Ellis Smith in Johnstown, Pennsylvania. But now to my buddy, my pal, the nifty Nikki Stanzione in beautiful Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, as she presents before President Trump to give a second speech tonight in our nation's capital to the Moms for Liberty organization. And we are very excited to have that happening, and many different breaking news items coming out throughout the day, throughout the week. One of the largest in Politico I was reading right after the president's speech. Georgia election workers are attempting to seize the assets of former mayor and Trump counsel Rudolph Giuliani, seizing his assets to collect the $148 million in the defamation verdict. And of course, we spoke on this earlier today about the lawfare that's existing in the country, not only against President Trump, but against his allies, simply for contesting an election, something the far-left Democrat Party has done for a long period of time. I just think of someone like Maxine Waters, the United States House representative out of California, who's been challenging elections since the year 2000, if not before, if it does not go in Democrats' favor. And Rudy Giuliani presenting concrete evidence on a regular basis. He's been indicted in Arizona. Just another way to attack the MAGA apparatus. And our thoughts and prayers are with Mayor Rudy Giuliani, someone who took on the mobsters, took on the Italian mob in New York and took them down, and an amazing, brave federal attorney appointed by Reagan, the greatest mayor in New York City history, sadly doing what's right, but paying for that in such a grand way. So our thoughts and prayers are with him as we continue to fight, fight, fight. Of course, you heard from Trump counsel Alina Habba in Johnstown, Pennsylvania as well, defending IVF treatments, defending true women's rights by getting men out of female sports, something that's a huge highlight and part of the 20 promises from President Trump in the Agenda 47 RNC policy platform that was adopted in July. And now to Nikki Stanzione in Washington, D.C.
So much amazing coverage from my dear friend Bobby. Thank you, Bobby. In the studio, we are live from our nation's capital, and I am Nikki Stanzione. What a treat. I have missed you guys all week. What a busy week it has been for President Donald J. Trump. My goodness, all over the country, from west to east and everywhere in between. And today he was in, of course, the Commonwealth. He was in Pennsylvania. What a rally it was. And now tonight, in this very intimate, fabulous setting here in Washington, D.C. at this fabulous hotel in the ballroom, we've got a live band, and we will see Tiffany Justice, who is the co-founder of Moms for Liberty, on stage with Donald Trump. And we're expecting an 8 p.m. Eastern start time. Listen, remember, we're talking about President Trump coming from Pennsylvania, from the rally. It could be a little delayed for that reason, but we're hoping to see him close to on time. The lines, let me tell you guys, the lines to get into the ballroom tonight were madness. I mean, madness. So it's not a huge space, but it will be full to the max. I can promise you that, and I have a feeling standing room only for Moms for Liberty. We'll talk all about that, but first I want to say thank you so much for joining us tonight. Stand by. It's a perfect way to lead us into a Labor Day weekend as we honor the president who honors the workforce and honors all of the American people. And this weekend certainly is a great weekend to celebrate with friends, but let's remember what it's all about. And of course, we kick it off with President Trump tonight, which will be spectacular. Before we go any further from here, I also want to remind you that we couldn't do what we do at RSBN unless we had amazing sponsors, and we certainly do. We're very fortunate for those sponsors. Not only are they the reason that we're able to give you this incredible wall-to-wall coverage from coast to coast and follow the America First agenda with President Trump, but we all get to work, right? It helps us. So we're so thankful for those sponsors and for all of you. And one of those sponsors is Tax Network USA. I want to talk a little bit about Tax Network, because if you're struggling with back taxes, which so many of us are still to this day, right? Or if you're dealing with unfiled returns, a lot of people put it off. We know procrastination is an issue. So the IRS is escalating collections. A lot of us heard about that at the beginning of the year. And so what I want to remind you is that in challenging times, your best friend, honestly, your best option, and I say it's like the best defense is the best friend you can have, and that is, of course, Tax Network USA. Now, one of the things I want you to remember is that oftentimes we'll hear about the IRS taking advantage. We don't want the IRS to ever take advantage of you, ever. So with over 14 years of experience, Tax Network USA is actually going to save clients a lot of money. In fact, over these last 14 years, they've already saved over $1 billion in back taxes. And so their expertise is your advantage. They'll be able to negotiate for you, which is fantastic. And they don't only negotiate, that's just one bonus. They actually will also protect your assets, and they will protect you from IRS seizures and for managing your yearly returns as well for ongoing compliance. So it's really important to know that they are licensed to help with all of your tax issues, regardless of where in the U.S. that you live. And of course, the clock is ticking, so you don't want to wait another second. Contact Tax Network USA by calling 1-800-357-1415. 1-800-357-1415. And you can also visit tnusa.com/RSBN. Don't let the IRS get you down, right? Don't do that. Now, I will tell you in advance of this broadcast, as we get it all kicked off, the proximity between me and the camera, talk about best friends. We're like, hello, we're best buddies because we're very, very close. We're on a very tight riser. We've got Fox News, we've got CNN, we've got all the main networks, all mainstream media. But the one place that you will see the wall-to-wall coverage start to finish with no interruption is here at RSBN. We will show you the complete speech. If President Trump gets up and starts a speech, once he starts talking, there will not be interruptions. You're not going to have somebody come in and cut him off in the middle. That never happens at RSBN, and we appreciate you watching. And in fact, I do implore you to get on board. If you don't already have the app on your phone, get it now. Get it now. RSBN Network. Network. In other words, network. So there's only one N. RSBnetwork.com, and you can get the free app, put it on your phone. It's free. I love it, love it, love it. You can also subscribe, and that's a really wonderful way to be a part of our team. And you can also help with donations. And of course, go to YouTube. Hello to my YouTube live chatters. I love you guys. I'm not looking right now, but I will check it out. I always try to come in and say hello to all of you. I just love the excitement and the camaraderie between all of our friends on YouTube and on Rumble. So make sure that you join the live chat and get interactive as well. In the meantime, let's talk about Moms for Liberty, yes? It's a really special organization. Now, Moms for Liberty began about 3 years ago, and it happened because Tiffany and Tara, who are the co-founders in Florida, they're moms. They're moms themselves. So Tiffany's a mom of 4, Tara a mom of 5. They decided they couldn't handle seeing parents under assault and children's freedoms under assault by the government. Absolutely no can do. And so they came together and they formulated this opportunity for the moms, the parents, people who want to fight for the survival of America, and they want to unify and educate and empower all the parents so that they can defend their rights as parents. And so they put this incredible group together. At this point, as of today, you're looking at over 130,000 members. Over 130,000 members in 300 chapters in 48 of our 50 states. So they're well represented and they're growing by the day. And this is the summit that they've been doing over the last few days. It started yesterday, Thursday, and it goes through the weekend. And each day there'll be some different speakers. This morning, Tulsi Gabbard spoke. I believe Rob Schneider was last night. I know that Glenn Beck, I think, is speaking tomorrow. So they have some really important speakers, people who will come out and really speak truth and help the parents reclaim their rights, because that's what it's all about. You know, they stand for truth. When they talk about their values, the values that they implore and they imply and they explore are empowering others. They want to make sure that we build relationships among communities. And of course, they also want to stand for truth. And I feel like there's nothing more important than leaving this country better for the next generation than you had it for yourself. And, you know, for years that was always the case, right? You would always hear parents say, well, back when I was a kid, it was like this. You have it so much better than I ever did. We always heard that, right? Now, what do you hear? Let's be honest, you guys. Don't you hear more often than not, back when I was a kid, it was so much better. Gosh, I wish it was like it used to be. We haven't heard it was so much better now. We've been hearing it was so much better then. And we want to make it better. We want to make it better for the children of America. But moreover, we need to see the parents reclaiming their rights. So here's something that Moms for Liberty are planning to do, which is amazing. So they put out an initiative that they're planning to spend over $3 million in a multi-state campaign to really push forward the vote, because they know that with President Trump on their side, they will have those parental rights. Remember something, it's not been very long since we heard parents be called domestic terrorists. It makes me sick to even say it, honestly. Domestic terrorists. Because you want to stand up for your kids? Listen, life is life, love is love. Everybody has certain rights, and that's okay. Let your kids be, let them grow. But certain decisions need to still be monitored by parents. I wasn't even allowed to wear a certain outfit until when I was a teenager. My mom wouldn't let me out of the house with it unless I wore my clothes that were appropriate or certain things. So yeah, when it comes to the really important things in life, maybe even bodily transformations, it's very important that parents have rights to be able to make decisions with their children and not be deemed domestic terrorists for doing so. And on top of that, you know, I think it's also really important that you understand it. And we'll talk a little bit about some of the policies that have been implemented in Minnesota. But when you think about what the moms want to do, all they really want is a safe environment and a safe, smart, good, pure life for their children. So they plan to spend over $3 million in this initiative that's basically going to be like an advertising blitz. And this blitz is going to help for voters ahead of November 5th so that they know that they have the information they need and they get out and vote and they don't waste time, right? Because time goes fast and then all of a sudden you look back, oh my gosh, I forgot to vote, or I didn't get informed enough. I'm gonna hold off this year because I didn't pay attention. This is the year to pay attention, friends. This is the year to pay attention more than you've ever paid attention before. And they're specifically targeting some of the really important swing states. So, for instance, they're going to particularly target Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina, Wisconsin, which, by the way, did you catch the town hall last night on RSBN? Oh my gosh, I loved it. Did you love it? I loved it. And I always say to people, if they're not somebody who's typically a Make America Great Again person, okay, I don't even like to say a MAGA person. It's said with so much disdain, and it's really something that we should all share, no matter what your background, no matter what your culture, no matter what your politics. If you live in America, that's something we share as a country together. We want to make our country great again. There's no reason that should be controversial, but I say that often, and I think it's very important to keep that in mind. But even those who are maybe further left, maybe independents, like Tulsi Gabbard was, maybe Democrats, like RFK Jr. was, you're starting to see people move over because they're saying this is the party of common sense. It's not about conservative. It's not about Republican. It's about common sense. And if you have logic and common sense, you want safe borders. You want closed borders. You want a great, prosperous country. You want an economy that's strong. You want prices to get lower. You want to be able to drill and have energy resources and be energy dominant. You want to be able to have crime-free streets. You want to be able to feel like your country is a leader in the world stage. I mean, these are just common sense principles. And of course, coming back to tonight, we want to know that our parents are treated with the respect that they deserve, because parents should have rights without being demonized for it, right? So anyway, the town hall last night was spectacular. It was so great. And what I really loved about it so much was, number one, seeing President Trump in that calm, comfortable setting where he got to interact close up with so many of the wonderful patriots of the country, lots of young kids voting for the first time, graduating college, moving into the next phase of their life. And then, of course, Tulsi asked some really pertinent questions. We'll talk about that. I also want to recognize another one of our sponsors, because we couldn't do this without them. And I know that you watch and you want to hear all the excitement, and we're going to share that with you. But also keep in mind that our sponsors are actually really helpful. And sometimes it's funny. Sometimes people will say, I know Tax Network, Birch Gold, but they don't listen to the whole story. And then when they do, they're like, wait a minute, I really need to pay attention. I need that in my life. So our sponsors are actually not just allowing us to do what we do, but they're providing great opportunities for our viewers, including the fact that the wellness company Contagion Kit is a lifesaver, friends. Listen up, seriously. The world is getting more unpredictable by the day. You know that, I know that. And we've got assassination attempts. We've got the potential for a world war. We've got civil war. We've got rumors of that. We've got an unstable stock market. And of course, the looming threat of bird flu even. Bird flu, I said it. That's right. Did you know there's actually a bird flu summit that's coming in October? If you didn't know and you're watching for the first time, I want you to know that it's eerily reminiscent of what we saw with COVID-19 back in I believe it was 2019, and as we were leading into 2020, that happened. And the topic on the agenda, the first topic on that agenda, is actually mass fatality management planning. I know. If that doesn't send chills down your spine, I don't know what will. That's creepy and scary and horrible, right? But let's talk about the good news, right? We don't want to get problems without solutions. You don't have to be scared if you're prepared. And I love that. You don't have to be scared if you're prepared. And so the wellness company created this Contagion emergency kit. And what it does is it has all the things you could possibly need in every home in America, packed with life-saving medications like ivermectin. You've also got Z-Pak, and it's, by the way, backed by Dr. Peter McCullough. You may remember he was banned for all of his amazing information on the COVID pandemic. So no more frantic searches for a doctor. Imagine, right? No frantic searches, no long waits in a waiting room. That's a goodie. And also the kits are going to be delivered right to your front door. So in times like these, having that Contagion emergency kit is a must-have. Prepare by protecting yourself now. Easy to do. Go to twc.health/RSBN. Grab your kit now. And by the way, it's twc.health/RSBN. If you actually put RSBN as the code in the checkout, we'll give you $45 off, even better, $45 off your kit. How about that? And by the way, Those kits are only available in the USA. Now, I just want to let everybody know there is a fabulous band playing. Woo, paparazzi. There's a fabulous band that's playing right now, and they're really good. And I feel like I'm at a concert. He asked how many 80s babies. I just raised my hand. 80s kids. Anybody out there? Are you guys 80s kids too? So the band is awesome. They're pumping up the crowd. So if you're like, Nikki, you're talking a little loud, it's because I literally cannot hear myself speak. It's really loud. So it's like being at a concert, which is super fun. I just want to give you a little heads up so you knew what was going on. I also want to share something else with you, because we talk about what we saw last night at the town hall I was talking about. And I thought it was really interesting, because President Trump was asked questions about everything from the economy to, of course, the border, energy, and he was talking to some of the youthful folk at the town hall, and he said, "Look, I want you," because they were asking about how am I ever going to be able to afford a house? How am I going to afford my life? And he said, I'm going to make it so you can not only afford a house, but I want you to live a great life. Buy all the groceries you want, eat the food you want, have the life you deserve. But it all begins with energy, right? He's talked about the resources that we need, the liquid gold under our feet. We talk about it all the time, but it's so important. He's going to drill. It's a cliche. It's not just a saying. The one thing about President Trump is that when he says something, he means it. He talks the talk. He walks the walk. And talk is cheap. And we know that, right? And so to that point, let's lead into what happened last night with the debate. So, not the debate, excuse me, the interview. I'm thinking about the debate, by the way. The debate on September 10th. None of us want to miss that. But last night was the first time that we saw Kamala Harris sit in front of one of the press. We've all wanted to talk to her and hear her story. Be fair, right? We want to be fair. We want to be able to say, hey, here's what this person says, here's what this person says, here's what this person will do, here's what that person will do. But they were getting a lot of mixed messages right now. I think the one thing I always say about President Trump, I say it every time, if you watch videos or interviews with President Trump from decades ago, long before he ever got into politics, his message is consistent. From long before he became the president to when he was the president to now running again for the 47th president, his messages are consistent. Consistency, to me, is authenticity. And when you have that kind of authenticity, you get transparency. When you get transparency, you get truth. And then you make your decision. That's the bottom line. So when we don't have transparency, when we don't have authenticity, and when we don't have information or consistency in the information, it's very hard to believe in somebody. So this is not to put anybody down. This is not to bash people. We're in America. We have the right to make our own decisions and vote for who we want. But for me personally, and so many other people that we love, we know that we want somebody we can count on and depend on. And I believe that with the messages we've been hearing and seeing from President Trump, we could be in very good hands once again in just a matter of weeks. That's right, weeks. We've got so much more to come live from Washington, D.C. here in our nation's capital. I'm Nikki Stanzione. Follow me on Truth and on Instagram at Nick Stans. Follow RSBN on all the platforms, but come find me, NIKSTANZ on Instagram and on Truth, and of course on Twitter, Nikki Stanzione. Follow me. Don't go anywhere. RSBN is going to continue to bring you amazing coverage. We'll see you in just a few.
You ask and we listen. We're finally bringing the most requested offer ever. Get the queen size premium MyPillow, now only $19.98. MyPillow is made with patented adjustable fill. It adjusts to your exact individual needs regardless of your sleep position. It helps keep your neck aligned and holds its shape all night long so you get the best sleep of your life. But that's not all. Get our 6-piece kitchen or bath towel sets only $25. Our brand new mattress topper as low as $69.98. Get our famous MyPillow bed sheets for as low as $25 and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get huge discounts on all MyPillow products, including the premium queen-size MyPillow, only $19.98. That's the lowest price ever. Don't delay, order today. From all of us here at MyPillow, thanks America!
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
Welcome to the Right Side Broadcasting Network. We're not like the other media outlets out there that cut and edit what other people say. In 2015, we were created by our founder, Joe Seals, to cover President Donald J. Trump's speeches and rallies, to which we continue to do to this day. We've also covered important conservative events like CPAC, TPUSA, March for Life, and many other important events and hearings around the country. We were made for people like you, everyday Americans who are tired of the mainstream media, who are tired of being lied to, manipulated, and fed an agenda. Our goal here at Right Side Broadcasting is to allow you to see the truth, giving our correspondents and commentators a wide latitude to speak their minds. You won't find anything like this in the mainstream media. Your support through your donations, locals, and supporting our advertisers allows us to continue to cover important events around the country each and every day. So, from us here at Right Side Broadcasting, thank you for supporting us and the right side of history.
Hi folks, this is RSBN founder and CEO Joe Seals here. In these crazy times, there is peace of mind and security. Security for our country, security for our leaders, and security for our families. But think about this. If you have all your eggs in one basket, you are not financially secure. Gold and silver are an excellent way to diversify your savings. They're a hedge against inflation. And through my friends at the Birch Gold Group, you can own physical gold and silver in a tax-sheltered retirement account. There's one thing you can do today to secure your family's savings. Just text the word Trump to 989898 and receive a free info kit on gold. Plus, in August only, on any purchase you make, Birch Gold is giving away free Trump silver coins. This brand new one-of-a-kind silver coin features Trump boldly raising his fist in the moments after the attempt on his life. You don't want to miss your chance to own this special piece of history, a celebration of a leader dedicated to our security preserved in the security of a precious metals coin. So secure your savings today and get your free Trump silver coins. Text Trump to 989898 today. That's Trump to the number 989898.
Good evening from Auburn, Alabama. I'm Bobby McNeely, and happy to join you for a doubleheader leading into Labor Day weekend. President Trump just speaking in Johnstown, Pennsylvania, covering the 20 platform promises, the Agenda 47, which was adopted by the RNC back in July. He's en route to Washington, D.C. to speak to Moms for Liberty, a great group that advocates for minor children, especially children in public education, private education, protecting their children from indoctrination. And we want to thank our sponsors for helping us bring you wall-to-wall coverage the last 2 days of President Trump having been in Pottersville, Michigan, then going to a town hall moderated by the legendary Tulsi Gabbard, and now today on the road again, Johnstown, Pennsylvania, and Washington, D.C., our beautiful nation's capital, which will be even more beautiful with less crime and more prosperous than ever before, with President Trump returning to be the 47th President of the United States. But Birch Gold Group, They have an amazing new item out. Gold and silver are an excellent way to diversify your savings. They're a hedge against inflation. And through my friends at Birch Gold Group, you can own physical gold and silver in tax-sheltered retirement accounts. Plus, in August only, I'm holding it right here, on any purchase you make, Birch Gold is giving away free Trump silver coins. This brand new one-of-a-kind silver coin features Trump boldly raising his fist in the moments after the attempt on his life. And it says, fight, just as he said, fight, fight, fight. The date of July 13th, 2024 in Butler, Pennsylvania. Of course, Secret Service agents around him with the American flag, that iconic moment enshrined on this beautiful, fairly heavy silver coin, and on the back is our beautiful White House, which President Trump will be occupying once again on January 20th, 2025. But go to Birch Gold Group by texting Trump to 989898. Get this beautiful piece of history. I'm honored to hold it tonight to share that with all the great MAGA patriots at home. And you just don't want to miss this chance to own a significant piece of history. Text Trump to 989898. And what a time to be alive. So much news going on throughout the day. Pennsylvania, 19 electoral votes. We had the magnificent Matthew Alvarez and the tremendous Titus Ellis Smith out covering, doing so well, talking to the MAGA patriots out there in Johnstown, Pennsylvania, just 57 miles east of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We saw the terrible towel converted by vendors into the Trump towel. If you are Pittsburgh Steelers fans and if you are football fans, that was a neat moment to see our magnificent Matthew purchase one of those and share that with the crowd there. But I was really moved by a couple of the speakers just touching on the IVF policy that President Trump is advocating in his new policy platforms moving forward. And he had spoken on that earlier today, that he is hoping to, through the government and through private insurance companies, get those things funded because, to quote him today in his speech, we want to have more babies in America. So an important policy. Speaking of William and Oliver, we did not catch their last names, but famous people in that town having been successful and birthed from, they were twins, birthed from the IVF policy that came across that part of the country. So an interesting discussion that was taking place there during those remarks. And of course, President Trump going after Comrade Kamala Harris and the fact that she just doesn't care, whether it be on so many different issues, especially the 13 service members who sadly passed away 3 years ago. They marked that date on Monday, having passed away from Joe Biden's horrible, ignorant, incompetent failure in Afghanistan. President Trump saying Joe Biden killed those people because of his incompetence. And I read their names yesterday on the broadcast. I like to read them one more time. This was 3 years ago when these brave patriots passed away who served in Afghanistan, and so young. I'll read out their names, their ranks, and their hometown. Army Staff Sergeant Ryan C. Noss, 23, of Corryton, Tennessee. Navy Hospitalman Maxton W. Soviet, 22, of Berlin Heights, Ohio. Marine Corps Lance Corporal Dylan R. Marola, 20, of Rancho Cucamonga, California. Marine Corps Lance Corporal Kareem M. Nicole, 20, of Norco, California. Marine Corps Lance Corporal Jared M. Schmitz, 20, of St. Charles, Missouri. Marine Corps Corporal Umberto A. Sanchez, 22, of Loganport, Iowa. Marine Corps Lance Corporal David L. Espinoza, 20, of Rio Bravo, Texas. Marine Corps Corporal Hunter Lopez, 22, Indio, California, excuse me. Marine Corps Corporal Dagan W. Page, 23, of Omaha, Nebraska. Marine Corps Lance Corporal Riley J. McCollum, 20, Jackson, Wyoming. Marine Corps Sergeant Nicole L. Gee, 23, of Sacramento, California. Marine Corps Staff Sergeant Darren T. Hoover, 31, Salt Lake City, Utah. Such a sad thing to happen, and President Trump speaking to the family, speaking of those meetings that took place this past week over Monday when he rearranged his schedule. He just spoke on this in depth during the Johnstown, Pennsylvania speech, and he was supposed to spend 15 minutes with these families. It ended up being 4 or so hours, and they asked him to come to Arlington National Cemetery to honor the memory of these great heroes. And sadly, the mainstream corporate media turning it into fake news once again, saying that he was trying to take a press moment to take pictures at the grave when the families had asked President Trump to do this. How sad and how disingenuous on the part of the corporate media. And quite frankly, they need to apologize to President Trump and to these families who President Trump mentioned. It doesn't get better with time. It gets more painful as these young heroes passed away defending us. And because of Joe Biden's incompetence, Joe Biden has blood on his hands, but instead he chooses to go and enjoy the beach as he's wasting away the last days of his lame duck presidency. And as President Trump reminded us, the happiest person in the world right now is former President Jimmy Carter, because his administration is no longer seen as a joke when you look at Biden and Harris. And Comrade Kamala wants to continue these egregious policies. God be with us. But fortunately, we have a great campaign, and that's President Trump. And this is why we need to thank our sponsors for bringing you wall-to-wall coverage. FreeTrumpBook.com. Let me grab some of these here, because this is a great thing to teach not only your kids, but your neighbors who might not know about the Trump policies that have made such a difference. And if you even go to DonaldJTrump.com, look at the platform. His platform there, the 20 Promises to America. Kamala Harris's website has yet to even show any policy platforms. But here, FreeTrumpBook.com, the best-selling guide to President Trump, is available for free to viewers. The guide has been updated for 2024, and a great way for your kids, future voters of America, to learn about President Trump. So here, you have the Kids Guide to President Trump with questions like, who is President Donald Trump? Returning power to the people. What is MAGA? What did President Trump achieve while in office, and why is he running again in 2024? The Kids Guide to American Greatness. Some of the topics: America's unique beginning, liberty and justice for all, the civil rights movement, and pivotal players in that like Robert Kennedy Sr. and Martin Luther King Jr., who gave their lives for this country defending our Bill of Rights and our rule of law and our Constitution. Top 10 reasons America is awesome, and more. And of course, the Kids Guide to Fighting Indoctrination. What's happening in school, what's happening in media, all of these topics covered for your great little MAGA patriots at home, and maybe your neighbors who are simply just not following the culture and following what's happening in American politics today. FreeTrumpBook.com. We learned from President Trump today, as he's giving a great speech in Johnstown, Pennsylvania, just how bad illegal immigration is as well, and how broad of a coalition he has with his support, whether it be professional golfers. Brooks Koepka, a great player. His family was there, his father was there, and then the Puerto Rican Coalition for Trump, of course, the lovely ladies who go to every MAGA rally. We saw our friend Edward, it was his 86th rally today. He was interviewed by our magnificent Matthew Alvarez, and then also the front row Joes were there as well, which is always fun to see. But lots of news today. Kamala Harris flip-flopping on fracking, comparing ICE to the KKK. The way she's treated Brett Kavanaugh and his family during the confirmation hearings. She clearly is unfit for office, and if she did not care about this, she needs to change her tune. But we're going to go back to Washington, D.C., to the nifty Nikki Stanzione in the field.
It's okay.
I just wish all of you were here right now with me in this room. It is incredible. The energy is awesome, and this band is off the charts. They're fantastic. They were just playing Charlie Daniels music. They're playing everything, and they've got really, really, honestly, great energy. The whole room is excited. They're dancing. They're laughing. They're having fun. That's what we love to see, of course. But at the end of the day, it's about a serious thing, right? It's about saving our country. We want to see America revived, right? We want to see the spirit of this country. And I have to tell you, one of the things that really makes me very proud of this country is when I see the kind of patriotism that's displayed at these types of events. And I love the fact that the moms came together to create this opportunity for the parents to come out and say, you know what, I want to do the best thing in this life for my children. And part of being a part of America, being a part of this incredible country, being a citizen of this country, I want to honor the Constitution. I want to honor the Founding Fathers by doing the things that were implemented in the originally to make this country what it now is. But now we're seeing, as President Trump says, we're seeing a nation in decline, and we cannot see it anymore. We got to flip it around, and we're going to do it on November 5th. I'm a little distracted. Sorry, guys. There's a veteran on stage talking. I love hearing all of the military people who are backing President Trump. He got such... Let's talk about this for a minute. Now I got to get serious for a second, because I'm a little bit frustrated about something. So this week, as many of you know, we all know what happened with the Afghanistan, the absolute embarrassment of what happened when we saw the withdrawal from Afghanistan, which was absolutely unnecessary to be done the way it was. We know that. And we heard Kamala Harris very clearly state she was the last one in the room and had no regrets about it. We know that. So, the Gold Star families have gotten very close to President Trump, as many of you already know. They've gotten very, very close. They have had dinner and get-togethers in Bedminster, in Mar-a-Lago. They've been very close to him, and he's been there for them. They have not even heard from the current administration. That being said, on the 3-year anniversary this week, they invited, two of the families invited President Trump to come to Arlington, to come and lay the wreath, to honor their children, and go to the cemetery and honor their children and take photos with them. And the kind of absolute demonization that I have seen from mainstream media and some people from the Harris campaign against President Trump, saying it was a political stunt? What? Saying it was a political endeavor? Listen, friends, I implore you to always make choices for yourself. Get educated, get informed. I will never try to influence you to do something you're not comfortable with. You have to vote for your heart, like President Trump says. Vote with your heart. Vote for who represents your values, right? That being said, you have to be educated with truth and honesty. And when a president honors fallen heroes because he was invited by their family, and he is the only person who showed up for them because you did not see the current president and you did not see the current vice president anywhere near that area. Not that they would be welcome, I bet they wouldn't be, but the point being, they didn't even speak about it. They didn't even say anything about it. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I watched a lot of news that day. I read a lot of news that day. If I'm wrong, correct me. But in my recollection, the only president who showed up for them was President Trump. So to see the kind of demonizing and hatred and lies, it's frustrating, because I know in my gut, in my heart, in my soul, from my brain, I know that what he did was not even close to a political stunt. In fact, he had to go very out of his way to do it. He was all over the country that day. And that's the kind of thing that we have to keep in mind. And we have to share these stories with our friends and our family, because many of us have friends and family who feel differently than we do, right? Now, RSBN is going to, of course, have more viewers on the right than the left. We know that. That's Right Side Broadcasting Network. And most of us are very much for the America First agenda and for President Trump. That being said, there are many people that are kind of in the middle right now, and they're not totally sure what they want. Some people always vote Democrat, but they're not really buying Kamala Harris. Some people always vote Republican, but they're not sure if they're really for Donald Trump. That's fair. So get educated. And friends, we have the power. That's why I'm here on this platform talking to you. You all have the power to say to your friends and your family, let me share this story with you. I always tell people, what I see behind the scenes, I know because I'm seeing it. I'm there in person. I see it for a fact. I see the truth. And when I see things manipulated and tweaked and edited and changed or skewed in the media, it frustrates me because I know I saw it with my own eyes. I saw the crowd. I know there were no empty seats. And when there's seats shown before anybody's allowed in the room and they say it's empty, I'm like, no, it's not empty. So we have to share these truthful stories so that people know the truth, so that when they make their decisions, and not just on November 5th, guys, we got to start voting. A lot of places are starting early voting the beginning of September. So we don't want to waste any time. If you know people that are ready to vote in September, paper ballots, mail-in ballots, whatever you got to do, we got to do what it takes to have a free and fair election. We don't want to see election integrity compromised. We just don't want to see it. At the end of the day, half the country is going to be miserable in November, half the country is going to be happy. But one way or the other, if there is a way we can unite everybody so it doesn't have to be that way, because you saw when RFK Jr. endorsed President Trump, when Tulsi Gabbard endorsed President Trump, these are not people that would typically be people that you would say, oh, they're absolutely MAGA, MAGA, MAGA. No, it's quite the contrary. But they listen to his policies. They understand knowledge. Now, she's not attacking choice. She's not attacking a community. This is not an attack on what you choose to do with your body or your life or your who you choose to love. This is an attack on the parents. An attack on parents not having to know. They're not required to know if their child, who is a minor, wants to change their identity physically. Kamala Harris was called one of the most far-left senators in U.S. history because of her voting record, it said. And she said Waltz told a Florida teacher who believed parental rights ended at her classroom door to move his state because he loved her position against parents. So I just want you to think for a minute about the importance of parents in our society and their influence on all of us. And listen, everybody's family life is different. Some people are raised by their grandparents. Sometimes you're raised by an older sibling. Sometimes it's not an ideal situation. Sometimes it's the best relationship of your life. So we're not marginalizing or saying it has to be this way or that way. Every family is different. But at the end of the day, when it comes to the important things in our lives, we often turn to our parents, and our parents have the right, when we are minors, to make decisions for and with us. And so for them to have their rights stripped away was very frightening for so many parents. And Tim Walz is a major player in that game. And so, again, consider that as you're making your decisions moving into November 5th. I also want to remind you that the fight for survival for America and the justice that we want in our country is really what I would say kind of lit the fire for the Moms for Liberty to do what they're doing. And that's really exciting. And that's why we're all here tonight. And we're here to support these families. We're here to support parents. I was just talking to these precious little girls. Oh my gosh, they're so cute. Their names were Grace and Faith. Grace and Faith, love. And they were wearing their little Women for Trump hat. One had the Women for Trump hat. The other one had a little red dress. And they said they were super excited to be here and to see the president. And I'm really inspired when I see little children who are in these moments with us, because it just tells me that their parents are saying, look, we want you to see somebody who talks about what future can be for you. And that's what today is about. And one thing I will also say about President Trump, and I know you've heard the agenda. We'll talk about it. Agenda 47. Let's be clear. 47. There's no 25. There's no 25 and 47, right? So I want you to know that this man never stops. He is on the go 24/7 from state to state, place to place. He talks to people, talk about boots on the ground. This is a man who cares about this country and does not have to be doing what he does. He is full of energy, he is full of patriotism, and he is going to make America great again. That's all he really wants to do. I'm very proud to be here in Washington, D.C. today. I hope you're following RSBN on all of our platforms. I hope you continue to watch our live coverage uninterrupted. Follow me on Truth and on Instagram at Nick Stanz, Nikstanz. Follow RSBN everywhere. And of course, join the chat on YouTube, on Rumble, and get rsbnnetwork.com. Get the app. Join us. We'd love to hear from you. Let me throw it over to my very good friend, a fabulous guy. He is the wonderful Bobby. And Bobby is in the studio right now. I'm going to throw it to you. And I hope we get to work together again soon, Bobby.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. The nifty Nikki Stanzione. Always a pleasure to see you, and I miss you very much. We all live all across the country, us correspondents and anchors, and it's a pleasure when we can get together to bring you wall-to-wall coverage of President Trump, his rallies, and also where he might be going, like an event tonight, Moms for Liberty. And I was just going through some of my social media, and the great Patriot viewers out there like you at home sometimes ask, how can I get involved with these groups? Well, momsforliberty.org, and they are enjoying the Joyful Warriors National Summit, and I've had a pleasure of working with these lovely ladies throughout my career. Very true, as Nikki was mentioning, that a sleeping giant was awakened by the woke nonsense of the far left over the course of the last several years. Stuff like forcing the vaccine mandates on their children, pornography in minor children's schools, the forced mandates in some situations when it comes to using puberty blockers or doing transition surgeries against the will of the parents. We've seen great, brave governors, people like Glenn Youngkin in Virginia, who has gone out of his way. A reason he was elected was on parental rights. We saw the FBI go into DC suburbs to try to harass these great parents, just not very political, simply wanting to put their children and their welfare first, and city councils and school boards shutting these people down, their federal government coming after them in the form of the FBI, an entity that should be defending American citizens and residents. Virginia probably hit hardest with all of that, but that's what a lot of people even ask me. You know, there's so much doom and gloom out there, the fake news, corporate media, and the oligarchs, big tech, coming hard at American citizens. What do I do as an individual? Well, really, quite simply, get involved. Go to school board meetings, run for city council, be bold and be brave. And I'm telling you, having experience with this, you will be the most popular and sometimes the most hated person in your town, but you'll be the most respected, taking on, at times, people who are just really have a different view of America and a different view for your children. So get involved in good groups like momsforliberty.org. And I was really moved today before, during, and after President Trump's speech in Johnstown, Pennsylvania, namely with the mental health township supervisor. He was a he's now a Johnstown supervisor. Unfortunately, I didn't have time to jot down his name, but a gentleman who was in the military, and he mentioned, you get involved in politics because people like President Trump, all the way at the top to these lower offices, actually have decision-making powers that can affect people's lives. And that's what we've seen, the incompetence of the Biden administration over the past 4 years. The fact that they have not taken care of people. There have been so much unnecessary death, whether that's been from fentanyl coming through the southern border, out of control crime in our big cities and even in our suburbs, and then situations like that, not putting our veterans first and letting them remain off in the streets. I think about Mark Caskey's speech, how brilliant that was, and President Trump bringing him on stage, talking about the war on energy and encouraging his fellow blue-collar workers vote against the electric vehicle mandates, vote Trump, defend our energy, defend this nation, and defend Appalachia, West Virginia, and Pennsylvania, even Ohio, that are the backbone and the cornerstone, those broad shoulders taking care of American energy. And speaking of protecting yourself, Birch Gold. In these crazy times, there is peace of mind in security. Security for our country, security for our leaders, and security for our families. But think about this. If you have all your eggs in one basket, you are not financially secure. But look at this prize I have. Gold and silver are an excellent way to diversify your savings, and I'm holding it right here. They are a hedge against inflation, and through August, get your free Fight Silver coin memorializing the attempted assassination on President Donald Trump, a cowardly act. But he stood there saying, fight, 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 and fight is enshrined at the top of this beautiful coin with a date of July 13th, 2024. Of course, President Trump with a fist in the air, flanked by his Secret Service protection detail and the American flag in the background, and then you flip that over, our beautiful White House, which President Trump will soon occupy when he is successful on November 5th of this year and takes that oath of office once again on January 20th, 2025 to become our 47th President of the United States. How do you obtain all this? Text Trump to 989898, and I even have the nice guide here that gives you all the information and no strings attached, no pressure. Just check it out. You got Ron Paul, Dan Bongino, Steve Bannon, and even Ben Shapiro, great patriots who all endorse Birch Gold Group. And what a collectible, what a memorabilia to have in your coin collection. It's nice and it's a little heavy too, but a nice piece of silver that I am keeping safe right here. Text Trump 989898. Secure yourself and your family financially. Birch Gold Group. Thank you for sponsoring us and for giving us the wall-to-wall coverage opportunity for those watching at home. Also, if you're interested in joining any kind of Trump campaign, you don't want to run for office yourself, you have too much going on at home or at church, I can completely understand that as someone very involved in my community. TrumpForce47.com. Beautiful offices popping up throughout our beautiful United States, and a great way to meet your neighbors, get involved, make phone calls, and knock doors for President Donald Trump. It makes a gigantic difference in a race that could be very, very close. This is something that is coming down to the wire, and that's why election integrity is so huge to focus on. Some big wins throughout many states. I mentioned Governor Glenn Youngkin out of Virginia. He recently was able to help remove nearly 7,000 people from the rolls in Virginia, either because sadly they passed away or they had moved from Virginia. We have the RNC is suing the North Carolina State Board of Elections to prevent non-citizen voting. Over 1 million have been removed from voter rolls in Texas as well. In my home county of Fulton County, Georgia, the great patriots involved in that, Republicans and Democrats, making sure that the people who should be voting there are legal citizens and residents of the area. The state election board doing incredible work, and I'd like to encourage them to keep that going. So much news going on today, and even in Pennsylvania, the registered number of voters, the GOP is outpacing the Democrats, but overall numbers are still behind Dems. But good work. Going back to Washington, D.C., to the nifty Nikki Stanzione.
Hi, everybody. I'm Nikki Stanzione, live from Washington, D.C. This crowd is excited. I am telling you what, it is so hard for me to stand still. I might fall off the risers if I don't, but it is hopping in here. The rock music is off the charts. All your favorites from like the 70s, 80s. Yeah, it's the good stuff. I really want to tell everybody that it's an event that honors parents, right? That's what today's about. It's about honoring parents. So one of the things that is so important is that the parents teach the kids everything that they could possibly learn about this culture, this society, and of course about President Trump, so that they understand who he is, what he's about, and not just listen to the rhetoric that often opposes the truth. So here's the deal. You want to get your kids the best-selling kids guide to President Trump. It's so fabulous. You guys are going to love it if you don't already have it. I know a lot of you know about it. It is available for free to our viewers. All you have to pay is shipping and handling. So absolutely make sure that you get yours. The guide has been updated for 2024. We love that. So you have all the updated information explaining President Trump's vision for America and for the future of America's kids, which is what it's really all about. That's why we're here, Moms for Liberty. And it also includes his policies on immigration. We know how important that is. As a result of all of the terrible, terrible crime we've seen from illegal immigrants, I should say illegal aliens this year, I'm not afraid to say it. As a result of that, more and more Americans are really waking up and they're agreeing with President Trump's policies. And as future voters, our kids need to be informed, and they need to understand the ramifications of loose immigration policies. You know that as well as I do. And the Kids Guide to President Trump is the best way to inform them. I know I'm getting a lot of lights on me right now. It's fun. I feel like I'm in concert. I really want you guys to know, in all seriousness, the Kids Guide to President Trump is going to help the kids understand what he's all about and how his vision for America will affect their future. I really want them to get it. Go to freetrumpbook.com. Again, that's freetrumpbook.com. I said it on the beat because I'm listening to the music. Tonight, President Trump is going to come out here. He's going to talk to this very excited, enthusiastic audience. They are so thrilled to hear from him. They are here in honor of Moms for Liberty. And again, President Trump really taking the time to go all over the country to speak to everybody, to speak to people in the Bronx, to people in New Jersey, to people in Chicago, to people in D.C., to people in Michigan, Wisconsin, Nevada, Arizona. He's going all over, and of course, Pennsylvania today. We are hearing the message clear. The message is loud and clear, and that message is authentic, and it is consistent, and it is that we want to make our country safe, prosperous. We want to make our country strong. We want to make our country safe. And all of those things will then in turn make the country great again. And that is exactly what President Trump will do. You heard a lot about his policies, but here's what I am so proud to hear. Speaking of motherhood, and I'm sure he'll touch on it tonight, this is a big one. Yesterday, President Trump announced, this is for all of my friends out there that are trying to have children. President Trump announced yesterday, much to our pleasure, that he is going to mandate that the government or your insurance company is covering IVF for all those out there who want to become mothers. God bless this man. If I hear one more person say he's against women's rights, I will cry. Think about what he is saying. I have, and I'm going to speak from experience, I won't call out my friends, but I have some friends that I care about very much who can't have children. They've been struggling a little bit. They're struggling. And they said, I want to go through IVF. I want to go through it, but it's going to break the bank. I have some friends who've already been through it and didn't have success and therefore want to go through it again, but they can't. Or they will have to literally make other sacrifices or take everything out of their savings to try again. IVF treatments are not inexpensive by any stretch of the imagination. It's a difficult process. It's an invasive process. It's an important process. And so many women have chosen not to do it because they cannot afford it. President Trump knows the beauty of bringing more children into our world, and therefore has made an agreement and a promise to us as voters that when he becomes the 47th president, he will now not only do no tax on tips, which we know was his policy. Don't get it twisted. That was his policy. No tax on tips. He made that decision in Nevada with a waitress who told him that she was sick of getting taxed on her tips. For everybody in the service industry, that's for you. And that's a promise. Now, this is not the president who actually signed off on a bill to give you higher taxes. This is the president who's going to cut those taxes. Secondly, he's going to take taxes away from all of those senior citizens. And now government is going to cover IVF. God bless him. I mean, you hear about that, and you can't think anything other than life can be better. It absolutely can be great again for everybody out there, and for the moms that are watching and the moms that are here tonight. I know how much that means to them, and I'm so happy to hear it. So please, if people say to you, President Trump is not in favor of that, you tell them not only is he in favor of it, he's going to make it available to you affordably, because he's going to have the government or your insurance pay for it. Period. The end. Okay, now, again, we cannot do what we do if it was not for our unbelievable, incredible sponsors. And I have to mention that again, that the Wellness Company is such a special sponsor to us. For America, you have to listen up. If you haven't already done so, pay attention, because the world is getting more unpredictable by the day. We're seeing nothing but, shocking stories day by day, from assassination attempts to civil war rumors and then some, even the looming threat of bird flu. Truth. So if you know about bird flu, then maybe you've already heard that there is an upcoming summit in October, just a month and a half away or so. And it's very reminiscent of what we saw with the COVID pandemic. The first topic on the agenda, I have to remind you, is mass fatality management planning. That should scare you. It scares me too. But there's good news. We'll remedy it. You don't have to be scared if you're prepared. Just keep saying that. And if you're saying to your friends, I want you to get the Wellness Company's Contagion Kit, remember that line. You don't have to be scared if you are prepared. That's the beauty. They have packed life-saving needs into this kit for all Americans to get, even a Z-Pack, hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin. I mean, it's incredible, and it's backed by Dr. Peter McCullough, so you would have no more frantic visits to the doctor, no more waiting, long lines in a waiting room. This would be wonderful to have. Every single American should have at least one in their home, and it's very easy for you to have it. In times like these, an emergency contagion kit is not just a luxury, but it's actually a necessity. And so I would really advise, go to twc.health/RSBN, twc.health/RSBN. Grab your contagion emergency kit right now, and also use that code, the RSBN code, in the, where they have like a little coupon area that says, do you have a gift code or a card? Put RSBN, we'll give you $45 off. And remember, these kits are only available in the United States of America. So today I wandered a little bit around Washington, D.C., in our nation's capital. I talked to some of the Secret Service. I had on my little Trump bracelet. And I said to them, I said, do you feel safe? I mean, I always want to interview people. And I wanted to ask that, and they were like trying to be like, I can't really talk to you, ma'am. But some of them did say, it's been scary. There's been a lot of scary times over the last couple of years. The crime has been rampant. Of course, since 2020, we've seen a lot of crime. And they were saying that when there's events like this, like this type of an event, there's so much patriotism, and they're always thanked. I loved hearing that. One of the guys said to me, I notice every time there's a Trump event, people come up to us and say thank you. And that's because this is a party of law and order, and every American should be doing that, guys. It doesn't matter what side of the you're on. These people that protect us, Secret Service, our officers on the streets, on the ground, everywhere, security guards, thank them. They put their lives at risk for us all the time, and law and order it's got to get back in effect, but they've got to be able to do their jobs. If they can't do their job, what's the point? So President Trump is really getting a lot of endorsements from a lot of the different police associations all over the country. You've been seeing it, a lot of military backing. It's really interesting to see what happens when people who are in control of keeping us safe tell you what they want. Listen to them, because they're not out for themselves. They're not out for themselves, and that's evident by the fact that they are putting their lives and their families, it changes their families when something happens to them. I honor anyone who fights for our country, whether it be military, veterans, whether it be officers, whether it be firemen, anybody that puts their life literally at risk to go to work because it's all in the good honor of protecting us. That deserves being honored. And that's why I want to talk a little bit also about what happened at the border this week. President Trump was at the border in the heat of it. I want to talk about heat. My goodness. I wanted to go. I was kind of jealous I didn't get to go, but then I was like, I think it's 109 degrees. It's okay. I'll be there on Friday night. But this is a man who is 78 years old. He works around the clock, and he is standing in a suit and tie He doesn't take a sip of water. He doesn't stop to wipe off the sweat. He just talks for an hour at a time. And he talks to people, and he talks to the families, and he let these families who have dealt with the crime based on illegal migrants crossing the border, and some of them even being put on a watch list, some of them already being arrested and coming back again because they were let go, because they had no repercussions or consequence for their behavior. And he had the families of those who have actually been murdered, brutally, absolutely despicably murdered. And they came up and they spoke and they thanked him for being there. And the Border Patrol talked about, I've interviewed Brandon Judd, you've probably seen it. They talked about the fact that Kamala Harris has said that she'll be tough on the border, but she's done nothing for 3.5 years. And as President Trump said, day one started 3.5 years ago. It doesn't start now. It started then. Why are you making promises about what you'll do to fix the administration that you are responsible for? It just doesn't make a lot of sense, friends. So you have to think about that a little bit. You got to think about it. By the way, the music continues to be amazing. It is taking immense discipline for me not to sing and dance, just saying. But it's also taking a lot of discipline for me not to absolutely go crazy when people say things that are so negative and so not true about President Trump. And you know what? I have to do what he does. I take a deep breath. If he lets it roll off his shoulder, and he'll talk back sometimes, but if he'll let it roll off his shoulder, I still gotta speak my piece, because he deserves surrogates. He deserves people out here to speak on his behalf. He does as much as he can for this country. He's selfless. And when people say he's selfish, I want to remind you to go watch his speeches. He doesn't even say when I win. He says when we win, when our country wins. He says it every time. Think about that. And he's here for us. He doesn't have to be doing this job. You know that. I know that. He chooses to because he's a good patriot. He's a good man. I get very sensitive about it because I see the people that work with and for him, and I know he's a good person, and I want him to be treated as such. And it's frustrating when he's not. So we gotta get this country back on track again. And one of the things we also deal with a lot in our country, as I've mentioned, is the fact that the IRS affects a lot of the money that we work so hard for. We know that. That's the way it is. It's taxes, right? But you have to understand, if you're struggling with back taxes or you're struggling with unfiled returns, there is help on the way. The IRS is escalating collections. You know that, right? So we don't want to let the IRS get the best of us. We just don't. With over 14 years of experience and, already saving their clients over $1 billion. Think about that. That's a big deal. This is an incredible opportunity because the Tax Network USA is there for you. They're there to negotiate for you, and not only just negotiate, but because they're licensed and because of their abilities, they can actually protect your assets from the seizures from the IRS. They can actually manage your yearly returns, no matter where you live in the entire country, which is great. So the clock is ticking. You know that. I know that. We've got to get it handled. Don't wait. Don't let the IRS step in and seize your property or make things even more difficult. Let's get a handle on it while we can. Just call 1-800-357-1415. 1-800-357-1415 or visit tnusa.com/RSBN. tnusa.com/RSBN. And don't let the IRS get the best of you guys. Don't let that happen, because it doesn't have to be that way. It can be so much simpler. We're here for you. And I appreciate you standing by and listening to us read. If you've already heard me read some of the commercials for our sponsors, thank you for sticking around, because, listen, we couldn't do what we do without them. And we're so grateful for them, and we're so grateful to provide you with these opportunities. And that's what we do, and that's what we do best. I hope that you're going to all of the social media platforms to RSBN. You can find us, you can follow us, you can join the live chat over in Rumble, over in YouTube. To that point, on YouTube, I do want to say this, because I keep talking about how good the music is, and I'm like, I want to dance, I want to have a good time. The reason I can't step away and let you hear the music, and I've said this before, but if you didn't know, there are copyright laws. It's the way it goes. So if you're watching on YouTube and we play more than, I think it's like 8 seconds of a song without somebody talking over it we could get in trouble and then we wouldn't be able to do what we do for you. So in order for us to be able to stay on YouTube, have this interactive nature with you on the live chat, the way we have to do it is we have to comply, right? We have to play by the rules, and that's one of the rules. So just to explain, because I know people are like, why are you talking so much? Why aren't you letting us hear the music? Because I know I used to say it, but I get it. It has to be done. So just so you know, that's an intentional choice, because we also want to inform you of everything and tell you what's going on. So today, if you're just joining us, it is all about Moms for Liberty. President Trump's going to be joining Tiffany Justice, one of the co-founders. She's a mother of 4 from Florida. She had enough. She and her other co-founder, Tara, they had enough. Enough with taking away parents' rights. Enough with seeing the freedom of American children just completely ripped from them. So what did they do? They said, we got to do this. We got to do this for our country. And so that's exactly what they've done, and we're going to be seeing them. And we're hoping for an 8 p.m. Eastern time start. In the meantime, let me throw it over to my good friend Bobby in the studio.
In an exciting environment, we love the Moms for Liberty. They are a brave group of patriots, and have a pleasure to meet with many of them over the years throughout my career as they fight for common sense in the classroom, at school board meetings, at city councils, fighting for their kin, their children who will inherit this great American experiment. And in crazy times like these, peace of mind, insecurity is on the utmost forefront of all parents' thoughts. Security for our country, security for our leaders, and security for our families, quite frankly. But think about this. If you have all your eggs in one basket, you are not financially secure. Gold and silver are an excellent way to diversify your savings, and they're a hedge against inflation. And through my friends at Birch Gold Group, which you can see double boxed here, text Trump to 989898. You can own physical gold and silver, and also precious metals in tax sheltered retirement accounts. If you have to convert your 401k or your IRA, also a wonderful option. This is the one thing you can do today to protect your family and your family's savings. Text the word Trump to 989898. Plus, in August only, on any purchase you make, Birch Gold is giving away free Trump silver coins. And I have one in my hand. This brand new, one-of-a-kind silver coin piece, features Trump boldly raising his fist in the moments after the attempt on his life. And he says right here, fight, fight, fight. You have one fight at the top with the date of July 13th, 2024, what took place in Butler, Pennsylvania. We gasped all in that moment, in that scary moment, but President Trump saying that he was all right, flanked by his Secret Service detail, an American flag draped over that. On the back of the silver coin, our beautiful White House, that President Trump and his beloved, our beloved First Lady Melania, his wonderful, beautiful wife, they will be once again residents there come January 20th, 2025. But that involves us getting involved in this process, just like the Moms for Liberty are. So you don't want to miss this chance to own a special piece of history, a celebration of a leader dedicated to our security and preserved in the security of a precious metal silver coin. Text Trump to 989898. And of course, Nikki Stanzione, my wonderful colleague, doing an extraordinary job in Washington, D.C., which will once again be a beautiful city with the leadership of President Donald Trump in office. He actually started his speech earlier in Johnstown, Pennsylvania, and you could see the room there filling up. But in Johnstown, he had mentioned how he wants to enforce certain rules and laws. You go back to 1907, the defaming of any statue, the burning of our American flag. There has been some discrepancy and discussion legislatively and through the judicial branch over the year, but President Trump pushing for a 1-year prison sentence if you deface or burn an American flag. He's coming out with hard policy points as he makes these remarks throughout the country. Yesterday was a doubleheader, just as today and tonight. From Pottersville, Michigan to La Crosse, Wisconsin, Johnstown, Pennsylvania, and our beautiful capital, Washington, D.C., President Trump is pursuing Agenda 47 ferociously, and boldly, courageously, as he goes out there to fight for the American people. And the only way we could do that is by policy point 19 on the platform: secure our elections, including same-day voting, voter identification, paper ballots, and proof of citizenship. But the only way to achieve this is to make a plan to vote and to get involved in the process. You can do that by not only visiting donaldjtrump.com, but by going to TrumpForce47.com, the backbone and the wing of the campaign, doing extraordinary work. The RNC is actually suing the North Carolina State Board of Elections to prevent non-citizens from voting, a crucial thing as we move into what is 67 days away from the 2024 election. What a time to be alive, but we were born for such a time as this, to be involved like the Moms for Liberty are, going out there advocating for their minor students, making sure that there is not pornography in the classroom or in their libraries, that parents have a seat at the table. They have a seat and will be listened to by school boards, that they don't have to fear the Federal Bureau of Investigation coming there unjustly in the D.C. suburbs and harassing people in Virginia and in Maryland. I mean, this is a large reason why Governor Glenn Youngkin was elected, a common sense, right of center public servant, public leader who decided to run, a successful man in business and a self-made man. I was learning more about his story recently. And of course, he was one of President Trump's contenders, whispered to be, running mate. Ultimately, he went with the wonderful choice of Senator J.D. Vance, who has been fighting so hard for Appalachia and for the Rust Belt. But Governor Glenn Youngkin, no slouch by any means in this new, robust MAGA Republican Party. Governor Glenn Youngkin deciding, you know what, I'm going to take my shot at this, and I am going to share and make way for the American dream that I experienced because I worked hard and I care about my neighbors. We saw Mark Caskey in Johnstown, Pennsylvania, speaking on energy, giving a robust speech, and President Trump welcoming him back up to stage to say hello once again to the energy sector of our great country. Without Pennsylvania, without those 19 electoral votes, this is not going to be a successful venture. And if Kamala Harris gets in, it's been bad lately. Just imagine what she would do. She has flip-flopped on fracking. Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Ohio, and Alaska. We need gas and energy exploration in this country. As President Trump says, we have liquid gold under our feet. We need to drill, baby, drill. We need to go get Anwar again, just as President Trump succeeded at. And President Reagan, for being an outstanding leader as he was not able to secure that, but President Trump was. And frankly, from my perspective, as a political commentator, President Trump is the greatest president in my lifetime. That does include Ronald Reagan, a great man, a great visionary. And I also hope you do go see Dennis Quaid's film about Ronald Reagan, which is now out August 30th. I know I'll be rushing to theaters. Maybe I can squeeze some time in on this beautiful Labor Day weekend. And you see our split screen there, President Trump going to have a discussion with the founder of Moms for Liberty. You can find more on them by going to momsforliberty.org. It's the Joyful Warriors National Summit in our nation's capital, Washington, D.C. Kicking it off right in the middle of it. It goes through tomorrow, and our nifty Nikki Stanzione is covering all of the must-see action there in Washington, D.C. This is a great group. So moms, get involved in this organization. You will not be disappointed. Great MAGA patriots, Republicans and Democrats involved in this, and those who thought they'd never be political. But back to Nikki in our nation's capital.
Well, everybody, you are currently looking at a live shot of the stage where President Trump will be seen in just moments. Of course, he will be joined by co-founder Tiffany Justice of Moms for Liberty. And we've got a few other special guests taking the stage in just a few moments. Of course, we'll hear our anthem and all of the special things that kind of are the preliminary program right ahead of President Trump making his way onto the stage and speaking for this very excited crowd. Standing room only, I'm seeing a lot of people standing around the background. There are a lot of seats out in the front that are reserved for the Trump team and for all of those who are probably right now backstage greeting and meeting. And we are going to see this fireside chat. You know, it's been a long time since we've seen a fireside president, so we're very excited to see that. You're taking a look now live from our nation's capital. So excited to be here at this national summit in Washington, D.C. I had a chance to walk over to the White House today. It was quite exciting and exhilarating to be there. I got to see our Department of Treasury. I got to see the Capitol, the Washington Monument. And, you know, it reminds me of the history of this nation and how beautiful our capital is. And we've got to get the right people in this administration to make sure that our country is on its way to being the greatness that it once was. It was interesting. My friend actually sent me an article today. My friend Dawn, she had seen an article in the New York Post, and typically I don't really promote a lot of articles from a lot of papers, particularly in New York where I'm from. But this particular article was rather interesting. It was by a guy named Adam Coleman, and he said it's titled, "I was a Trump hater until I learned the truth of the media's very fine lies." And it was really interesting to see kind of him outline and break down how so many people are manipulated by what they see and what they are told to believe versus what they live. And I always say that. I talk about it all the time, the importance of paying attention to what is real and what you live versus what you're being told to think, because that's not the reality. He was talking about how journalistic professionalism was suspended and superseded really by unabashed biases and propaganda for one party only. And he said Kamala Harris is literally like the media's deity of the moment, being constantly praised for either not being Joe Biden or not being Trump, and getting 66% more coverage than Trump from major media outlets. And the irony of it all is that 84% of that percentage of coverage has been predominantly positive, whereas the exact opposite is the case for President Trump. And that's why I'm so proud that you guys choose to watch RSBN, where you can hear things other than these narratives that are really just impeding and hurting our society, because they're creating a lot of hate, they're creating a lot of division, and you need to see things for what they actually are. When we talk about, quote, fair media, Trump gets 89% negative coverage from the mainstream media. Think about that. So only 11% of what they say about him is not negative? I mean, how upsetting is that? It's got to stop. And I'll tell you, the censorship has to stop as well. And to see I call them the Avengers. It's literally the Avengers. Elon, RFK, Tulsi, all of them. It's incredible. Oh, we're about to get into the program, guys, so I'm going to let you hear what's about to happen. Here she comes.
So it's apparently our sound and production team also gets Tiffany and Tina confused. So I'm Tina Deskovich, the other co-founder of Moms for Liberty. It's an honor to be here with you tonight. I think so far we've had 2 really great days at our Joyful Warriors National Summit, and I do want to remind everyone who the OG Joyful Warriors are for all of the media and all of America that's watching tonight. Who are the original Joyful Warriors? We are! We are excited to have President Donald Trump here with us tonight, and I know that's who you want to hear from. But first, we're going to start off this evening in the proper way with an invocation from our National Chapter Chair Director, This woman wrangles over 300 chapters across 48 states. That's 130,000 women that she gets all marching in the same direction. Please give her a very warm welcome, Pat Blackburn.
Please welcome Pat Blackburn to the stage.
Well, hello everyone. I get the pleasure of leading you in the invocation. And I am the Sunday school teacher at my church. And I always tell my children, when I pray, I'm leading you in prayer. That means you're praying too. So as we pray, please do also pray with me. Let us pray. Our Father God, we come to you with heavy hearts, hurting hearts, and hopeful hearts. We beg you, our Creator, our Sustainer, our Savior, to lend your ear to us. Our hearts are heavy, God. Our hearts are heavy from the chains of sin. Forgive us. Forgive our government for policies contrary to your word. Forgive us for ignoring that you are God and there is no other. Forgive us for placing ourselves and our own desires above the purpose you created us to glorify you. Oh God, convict us, forgive us, and deliver us. Our hearts are heavy and hurting. We hurt watching our children suffer. We see them being led astray in our schools. We mourn as they are abused and taken advantage of and manipulated and indoctrinated to accept lies instead of truth. Our children are made to call unrighteous things good. We, as their parents and grandparents, fight for them and their future. We are fighting to raise them in the way they should go. We fight through persecution, and what an honor to be persecuted for the cause of Christ. We are persecuted, but we are not forsaken. We are cast down, but we are not destroyed. Praise to you, God, for hope. Our hope that is found in Jesus Christ, who left heaven to suffer for us so that we can have an eternity with you. Our hope is found in the promise that while on earth, he will never leave us or forsake us. That hope lives in us. It convicts us to stand for such a time as this. And we fight to return our country to the principles in which it was founded. We pray for every righteous candidate from the school board all the way to the Oval Office. Give them wisdom, conviction, courage, and give them victory. We thank you for this hope, and we thank you for modern day miracles like the one we watched where you spared President Trump from an assassination. And that assassin will go down in history as a failure, while we give you the credit and the honor for preserving this man who has promised to fight for us. We know you hold us in your hand, and we know you have a plan. And so in faith, we humbly pray in Jesus' name. God bless Donald Trump. God bless Moms for Liberty, and God bless America. Amen.
Please stand for our national anthem and welcome to the stage country singer Alexis Wilkins.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly be streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. God bless y'all. God bless America. Thank you.
Really, really, really close to the camera right now. It's pretty much, there's very little space between us. If I step back, though, I will be a goner. So that was a beautiful rendition, by the way, of the national anthem, wasn't it? She was beautiful. She rehearsed it earlier. I heard her, and then we were on the elevator together, and I said, you have a beautiful voice, and that is not an easy song to sing, but it's the most important song to sing. So she was rather sweet. Really great job. I do think we have an ETA. Is there an ETA of 8:45 now? Is that the latest call? I believe so. Or no, he might be coming out any minute. Right now, I heard he's in the building. I heard he's here talking to people. So you never know. You never know. He could be here any minute. He could be here in 10 minutes. But I'll tell you this: when he comes in, I'm stepping away, and we're going to see President Trump on the stage. I think that there's a lot of really important people here with him tonight. And I don't know, I spied a few people that I saw. Sebastian Gorka walking around. I saw Scott, his last name is escaping me. He did the paintings of the flags, and he was the pizza guy in New York who was saying, like, no way are you going to shut down my store. Do you remember that? I saw him walking around. I believe maybe, I don't know if Byron is here tonight, but there's a lot of people, so I know they're all talking. They're all here. The time, of course, is 8 p.m. is what we are expecting, but it could be any minute. You never know. We're at now about 8:17 p.m. So we're just excited to see President Trump here. We're excited to see everybody in their seats. They're all anticipating the moment, and they're all waiting patiently. Over 130,000 members in 300 chapters of Moms for Justice, and they call themselves the Joyful Warriors. And I think what she was referencing, Tara was referencing on stage, is that Kamala has been running on the party of joy, right? Talking about being the joyful candidate, but they deemed the Joyful Warriors long before that. So they're very proud of that name, and they're very proud to be here tonight and honoring the parents of America. It's a beautiful thing. And you can see right now that all the seats in the front are full, so that's a good sign. That's always a good sign when we see that. So if you were able to catch President Trump earlier today, I wanted to talk to you about this a little bit. If you were able to catch RSBN, then you probably had a chance to see that he was on stage to a crowd. I mean, a crowd. There were so many people there. And it was so exciting because, you know, last night was the town hall. In the afternoon, he was speaking in Michigan. The town hall was in Wisconsin. He was last week at the border. He was in Phoenix. He was in Vegas, in Nevada. He was literally everywhere in this country, just circling the nation, making his policies known. He's not afraid to talk to everybody. I saw him, by the way, on various podcasts. We saw him, of course, with RFK on stage in Phoenix. That was amazing. We also saw an incredible interview with Dr. Phil. I was so taken by that interview. I thought it was so introspective. They talked a lot about him being saved by God at the attempted assassination, and he just talked about, you know, the one in many million, not just a million, but one in many million chances that something like that could happen, that he could be saved by this slight turn of his head. And he talked about what that meant to him. He also talked a lot about just in general what he intends to do to make our nation safe and strong and prosperous again. And he, you know, it's really fun when you see him just off the cuff, because this is not a president who gets the questions in advance, ever. This is not a president that prepares he's always prepared, but he doesn't have to memorize lines or figure out what he's going to say, because he speaks truth. And that's something I always was taught. My dad always said, you never have to work so hard to remember something or memorize something if you're speaking the truth, because it'll just naturally come out without thinking. And I thought that was such a great lesson, and it's something that I think President Trump implements daily, hourly, moment to moment so beautifully. It's an exemplification of that thought of when you're telling the truth, you don't forget. You don't have to look away and have to have somebody by your side to save you. You just speak from the heart, and it comes out as the honest truth. So I love hearing his truth, and I'm sure we'll hear more of it tonight. But I do want to just kind of give you a little bit of a highlight. We just got from the team some information about some of their favorite highlights from today's rally, some of the must-watch moments, if you will, from Pennsylvania. It was in Johnstown, of course, and of course our team was there. And one of the things that President Trump did today was he scorched Kamala in her anti-American energy stance. He actually said she's vowed repeatedly to ban fracking. The people of Pennsylvania are smart, and they are. He said they will not fall for it. If you do not have fracking, you do not have a commonwealth, and that is a common theme that we're hearing about. And there was a little pushback on that comment last night, but she still is going along with the policies that the team has told her to say through the campaign, but they're really not working in conjunction with the comments that have been made for years and years adamantly. So that's where there's a lot of miscommunication and where there's a lot of confusion for a voter, because you hear one thing, but then you see another. You hear one thing this week, but then for 3 years you heard another. For 10 years you heard one thing, for 6 months you heard another. So it makes it really hard, that inconsistency, which is what I was talking about earlier. Also, one of the things that President Trump did is he described how Kamala surrendered control of our communities to the murderous mobs of illegal aliens, and she was indeed deemed the border czar. This was not something that President Trump made up and said, okay, let me make a name up and call her the border czar. No, this was actually what all of the media were calling her. Every media, the media that loves her, the media that doesn't. Everybody was calling her the media czar. They were calling her the border czar. So, that's one of the things that I think is important to just know, is that was a big part of the push, if you will. And so we just want to hear truth. That's all there is to it, and that's a big thing, and that's something that, of course, we will hopefully hear more of. We have some more sponsors to get to. You know what, guys? I don't know if I have that one that you're talking about, so you might need to send that over to me, because I don't think I have that information. I want to make sure I get it right. We have so many incredible sponsors here, and I'm here live by myself, which is super fun, but I can't step away and just throw it to somebody else, so forgive me for live TV. Live TV is live TV. You know how it is. So right now we're hearing some more fabulous tunes from President Trump, and I'm going to search because I want to be able to share this information with you. And I think this is important because it comes back to the fact that what we do, we cannot do without you. It's all about that. And this network, RSBN, this is literally your 2024 headquarters. This is where you turn for all of your information. We are committed to bringing you the most comprehensive, detailed information and coverage of President Donald J. Trump throughout this election cycle and the campaign and so much more. And that is why we're so happy to have you join us. And we want you to always stay tuned, because over the next 9.5 weeks, let me tell you, you are not going to want to miss a thing. And we are going to be there for you. And you want to make sure to like and to share all of the broadcasts with people. I do it. I hope you do it as well. While you're at it, please subscribe to the channel. I hope you subscribe, because if you hit the notification bell, what will happen is it'll tell you when we're live. So even when I'm not working, I have that subscription. So I'll get a notification on my email saying, join RSBN today, live from Johnstown, Pennsylvania at 4:30 p.m. President Trump is expected to speak. So you'll be able to find that, which is a wonderful thing. And you can follow us on every social media platform, as I mentioned before. Just go to RSBN. It's very easy. And you can just search RSBN Network. Also, if you want exclusive updates, this is great. If you want exclusive updates that go straight to your inbox, all you have to do is sign up for our newsletter at rsbnetwork.com. And then you just put a slash and then write in newsletter. So rsbnetwork.com/newsletter. And if you have content and you want to support our mission, please tell us how you feel about us. And then if you want to hear our content and watch what we do, all you have to do is consider not only watching us for free, but also maybe consider donating to us, which we really appreciate. rsbnetwork.com/donate. And every single contribution, whether it's big, whether it's small, we don't expect you to do anything that's not comfortable for you, but keep in mind that it allows us to bring you the coverage of President Trump that you so badly want to see, start to finish, without interruptions, without narratives, without skewed perspective, without editing, just the real deal as it is in real time, the truth and the reality. And of course, we do also rebroadcast a lot of our coverage so that you can see it in case you miss it live. You just have to text RSBN to 801-801. Again, that's RSBN to 801-801, and that's how you can stay connected with all of the latest coverage from RSBN. And we're here for you, and we thank you so much for supporting RSBN. It's so incredibly appreciated, because it allows all of us, all the reporters that you see, myself and others, Bobby and Matthew in the studio, all of us on the field, to travel, our incredible videographers. We have the most incredible camera guys. I'm with Mason today. He's amazing. This whole crew is, I said to him yesterday, I said, I've worked in television a long time. I've worked at a lot of genres and a lot of places all over the country. And the RSBN crew, the team, the people that make it happen, the people that shoot these incredible moments in time, they're exceptional. So this helps all of us. So thank you for that. In the meantime, I hope that you are following. And if you're in the live chat, thank you so much. I'll check all your notes a little later. You can also find me on Truth and Instagram at Nick Stanz. It's my name abbreviated, NIKSTANZ. And on Twitter, which is now X, and on TikTok at Nikki Stanzione, my full name, NIKKISTANZIONE. Meanwhile, let's get back to the point at hand. And I apologize for the extreme close-up. If I take even a close inch back, I'm a goner. So I'm literally I can touch the camera right now. I'm just very, very close to you all. So I feel like we can all kind of have a huddle. It's a one-on-one. We're very close together, and we can have an intimate conversation, because tonight's a fireside chat. A fireside chat between the 45th president, soon to be the 47th president, but he will not be the 47th president if you do not vote. You have to get out and vote, and you have to remember early voting starts really soon. I believe it starts on September 6th, if I'm not mistaken. And also, in some states, we're going to be seeing the early voting actually in person. So you don't have to just do it by paper ballot. You can actually go in person, which a lot of us love to do. And then once President Trump is back in office, we can get back to elections as they should be. One-day voting. ID. Listen, let's talk about ID, because this is something President Trump also brings up a lot, and I know he'll probably talk about it as we're continuing to get, I believe we're at 67 days? Are we 67 days from Election Day? 66 days? It's a matter of weeks now, friends. It's a matter of weeks. So one of the things that we talk about is election integrity. It's so important to have election integrity. And one of the things that's a big controversy, if you will, is about ID. I can't buy certain things without ID. I can't get on an airplane without ID. for many years, not so much now, but back in the day, I couldn't get into a bar without ID. Why would you need ID for those things in America, but not to actually utilize your citizen right, not your God-given right, your citizen's right to vote? Anybody that denies or rebuts the idea of having an ID to vote, something's not right there, right? You can't, what else can you say? Something's off. Because if you are voting honestly and doing things without any kind of cheating or any kind of manipulation, why wouldn't you want to show your ID to vote? It's a beautiful thing. You know, I talk to a lot of my friends who have come to this country from other countries because they wanted to be a U.S. citizen. And one of the joys and benefits of becoming a U.S. citizen was to have the right to vote. The right to vote. That is such a beautiful right that we have as American citizens, and that immigrants who come from all over the world come here to be able to get that right, but they gain it, they earn it, because they come here lawfully and they go through the process to become an American citizen. President Trump says all the time, I want this country to continue to be a melting pot of people. We want immigrants. Of course we do. There's nothing about having people come from other countries that's biased or racist or all of these terrible words that people throw out. It's about being lawful. It's about doing things legally. We have law and order for a reason. Our country would be in chaos, and we've seen chaos in this country when law and order is not implemented, when there are no consequences to disobeying the law. And coming here illegally and not going through the process to become an American citizen legally is unlawful. And one of the things that makes it even more unlawful is voting without ID illegally. But we see what's going on. There have been several instances. It updates every hour. I have to check what's going on in the last hour. But we're seeing the difference, right? We're seeing what's happening. And when you have a country that is allowing non-citizens to vote for the leader of that country, our country is therefore in tremendous disarray, and it cannot go on. And we need to get election integrity back intact. And that is one of the things that you will absolutely see when we have President Trump back in office. So that's a big deal, and that's an important thing. And I just want to stress that to all of you so much, because without that, what do we have, right? What do we have without election integrity? One of the things we also have a lot of integrity about are our sponsors. And I know that a lot of you out there that watch us, that enjoy the shows, that enjoy the coverage, you love to see all of the incredible people that join our party, that come out and say, I want to be a part of this. I want to join this movement. And part of joining the movement is bringing us opportunities for sponsors. Like I know, for instance, that I can't sleep. Literally, I cannot sleep without my pillow. I'm not kidding. Guys, I don't have that script, but I want to tell you, I literally cannot sleep without my pillow. I was, many of you know I do home shopping. I actually sold my pillow years ago in Minnesota. And when I did, I bought it. I said, I have to have it. So I want to just tell you guys, you will not want to miss the amazing offers. I'm going to have to step away in a moment, but I will tell you now, if you want to get the best deals and your son or your daughter's headed off to college, MyPillow is taking care of all of your family. Let me tell you, Mike Lindell is bringing back the $25 extravaganza. How good is that? It means that he's going to, along with his dedicated employees, being a part of cancel culture, he's going to give you a chance to have all of his incredible multi-use MyPillows at $25. It's so good. MyPillow sandals, $25. Beach towels, $25. The 6-pack towel sets, guess how much? $25. How about the couch and recliner pillows? Yeah, you guessed it, $25. Now the sheets and the blankets, guess where they start? $25. I have them all. I'm telling you, it's fantastic. Another amazing offer is the My Mattress topper for the college dorm beds. Such a game changer, guys. And they're not comfortable as they are without the mattress topper. You know. Okay, so the MyPillow topper comes in every bedside. Just go to mypillow.com and use promo code RSBN. It's that simple. Make it happen. And here's Byron.
Hey, I know you. No, don't look away. Look right here. I know you. You see, stay right, don't move. Stay where you are. Moms for Liberty. It is great to be with you at your national summit. And I've been told that this national summit is about being joyful warriors. This is what they told me. Oh. Hang tight. I'm going to come to that. No, you step forward. I know who you're with. I see who you're with. I've seen some Florida people in the front, and I love them. I love my Florida people. Love you guys. Oh, I see more Florida people over there. They're a little too excited. Y'all might have went over there. I saw the card over there. You made a decision, didn't you? You made a decision to be a joyful warrior for children in America. And so I hear some things that might be coming up in the great state of Texas. I hear some things. But let me tell you, let's step away. Let's talk about just the nation for a moment. The decision you have made to stand for the next generation, regardless of the politics, shows the courage that is going to lead our nation into the future and lead us to doing the best thing for the children of the United States of America. Thank you for what you've done. Thank you. I had no idea that was going to happen. But I got an idea of what's going to come up in a little bit. But first, I want to tell you guys a story. I want to tell you the story that gets talked about a little bit in bios. It's about a little kid from New York City. And this little kid was told by the public education establishment that he needed other substances in order to be calm and be quiet, to just go along with what the public school system in the city of New York said was best for him. But that little boy had a mother, and that woman who's tough, super tough. She stood for her son because she believed that her son had true promise and true ability, and she decided to do the hard thing. The tough thing was to fight for her child no matter what the public school establishment said about her child. And so, Mom, I just want to tell you, that little boy that went to PS 235 in Brooklyn, New York, that kid thanks you. Because now I stand here on this stage with the joyful warriors of Moms for Liberty. And I stand with them because with all of their work, all of their effort, all of their love, they are going to change this country for the better, and we are going to save the future of our country, which means you got to save the children of this country. So, without further ado, I want to introduce to you a lady who has made all of this possible with another friend of mine from the state of Florida who's sitting right over there. Tina, don't think I don't see you, Tina. I see you. Tina Descovich doesn't like doing this, but I respect it. But Tina, you and the lady I'm about to bring up, you guys had a vision for what is possible to demonstrate to mothers all across the country that you can stand for the future and you can be effective doing that. So thank you for your work. And ladies and gentlemen, coming to the stage, Tiffany Justice.
Great. How are you?
You gonna have a seat? Usually Tiffany has a lot to say, but not right now. I started today in New York, and I started today with a man who has been the leader of a movement to put America first. And people see the interviews, they see the rally speeches, they see the truths and the tweets. But what they don't see is the man. The man that I have gotten to know is a man who will do good things for anybody. He does great things for people who really can't do anything for him. But that demonstrates the true character, the true integrity of not just a man, not just a businessman, not just a mogul, because he's a mogul too, but the 45th and soon to be 47th President of the United States. Moms for Liberty, give it up for President Donald J. Trump.
And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston and New York to LA, where there's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say that I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
Thank you. Wow. That's a nice crowd. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
They love you here, President Trump. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much. And it's an honor to be here. This is a nice group. This is a nice group. We just left Pennsylvania. We had a big rally and a big speech. And I said, okay, that's it for the day, right, nurse? Sir, you're going to D.C. now. Congratulations. So it's when I heard exactly the group, I knew it anyway. But when they reminded me this was it, this is so important. The job you've done is incredible, really. And it's an honor to be here. Thank you.
Mr. President, we just want to say how thankful we are that you're doing okay. What a scary day. that was in Pennsylvania, and you are looking great, and we're so happy that you were able to join us. You and I were talking a little bit backstage, and you were sharing with me a lot of the concerns you have about the border and what you're seeing happen with illegal immigrants across the United States. And I thought I'd give you an opportunity to talk a little bit about that to start off.
Sure, because you're talking about moms and you're talking about family, such a big factor for you, just about everything. And when you look at what's happening in our country, this is so tough. You know, it's one thing you don't drill oil or you don't do something that you can do with a new group coming in, but millions and millions of people, 21 million people, I think the real number is. That you hear 13, 14, 15, like that's not a big number, but it is, but 21 million people. And many of these people are criminals. Many of these people are coming out of the roughest countries in the world, and they're coming from all over the world. They're not just coming from South America. You know, everyone thinks they're coming from like Guatemala, El Salvador. They're coming from Mexico. They're coming from everywhere. I was speaking to the Border Patrol. They said in the last 12 months, 159 different countries were represented by people having come in illegally. And that's some number. But these are tough people. They're coming out of the jails. They're coming out of the mental institutions. They're coming out of prisons. And they're coming, I mean, they're just coming out of, there's a difference between a prison and jail. It's subtle. But I say that they come out of mental institutions and insane asylums. There's a difference there also. And they're coming into our country at levels that nobody's ever seen. And I've been saying for 2 years that this has got to stop. I've been saying for longer than that, but for 2.5, 3 years, I said this has to stop. And now it's catching up with us. And you see what's going on in Colorado. I don't know if anybody got to see Aurora. I mean, they're taking over the city. They're taking over apartment complexes. These are young, very tough people. These are tough. They make our criminals look nice. That's the only thing good about them. Our criminals are like nice people by comparison. And if you saw the Colorado thing, and this is happening all over, just not Colorado, but the Colorado thing caught the imagination because there were many of them with the biggest weapons that you've ever seen. And these came from Venezuela, which is emptying out all of its criminals. You know, Venezuela crime is down like 72%. Because they're bringing all of their criminals from Caracas and everywhere else. They're bringing them to the beautiful USA. Thank you very much, Venezuela. We appreciate it. And we're allowing it to happen because we have open borders. And again, this is happening with every continent. We have Africa well represented, coming out from the Congo. 22 people came in recently from the Congo. Where do you come from? We come from prison. What did you do to get into prison? We will not tell you. Bad stuff. And we have them here. No intention of bringing them back. None whatsoever. And they're all over the country. But now what they're doing, you know, if you think 21 million, so if you say a certain large percentage of them are bad, because when you empty out your prisons and you empty out your mental institutions, it's a lot of people. It's bigger than most armies are in our country, if you add them up totally. So we had 159 countries, let's say, but we have massive numbers of people. And what happened in Aurora today is incredible because they basically have just taken over a swath and a building, and the people are petrified. The people living in the building, they're leaving. And when they tell the police about it, I mean, the police, you know, they don't need AK-47s, that's a very powerful weapon. I learned a lot about weapons over the last 6 weeks, I will tell you. There's a big difference between different weapons. But they're coming in with very powerful weapons. And the police, you know, you have a few policemen that are saying, wait a minute, we're totally outnumbered. Plus they have guns that are, you know, many times the power of what we carry. We don't carry rifles and machine guns and things like they're wielding around pretty freely and know how to use them. And this is affecting our schools because we want to talk about schools. And they're taking over schools. We have MS-13 gangs They're the toughest gangs, they say, in the world, probably are. I got them out by the thousands. I took them out by the thousands. Obama couldn't get them out because the country wouldn't allow them to come back in. They were putting airplanes, big airplanes on the runway so you couldn't land the planes. They'd have to come back to the United States loaded up with these same people that they were supposed to take out. And I got them to take them by stopping aid, $750 million to different countries. And I won't go through this or too much, but basically I said, how much money do we pay to Guatemala and to a few other countries? And the number was $750 million, which is a lot, but it's not that much. We give so much money away, it's so crazy, to countries that hate us. By the way, we give a lot of money away every year to Afghanistan. Billions and billions of dollars. And I think that Harris and Biden, I always start now by Harris, a Marxist. She's a Marxist, by the way. People are finding that out. But she's a total Marxist. Her father's a Marxist. He's a Marxist professor. He teaches, I guess, the economy from a Marxist perspective, and he taught her well. But when you look at what was happening, you couldn't get the people out. And when I said, you're going to get these people out of here, the general came to me, sir, they won't take them back. Who won't take them back? The countries from where they came. And they would put airplanes on the runway. They'd block up the bus routes. They'd block up everything. So we'd bring them back, and you couldn't bring them back, Tiffany. So it's such a horrible thing. And I said, how much aid do we pay them, sir? We pay them $750 million combined. I say, that's a lot of money. That's a lot. Well, tell them we're not paying them anymore. It's effective immediately. Yes, sir. And they told them that. And the following morning, I come into the beautiful Oval Office, that Resolute desk, which is so beautiful. You know, now Biden goes around using that. He didn't even know the name of the Resolute desk. Now he tells, I sit behind the Resolute desk. He doesn't even know what the hell it is, this guy. That's a beauty. Boy, I tell you, did they do a coup on him? Anyway, so I said, tell him that's not happening. So the following morning, I get to the office and I get a call from 3 countries, let's not use names, and all very smart leaders. I'd be doing the same thing if I were them, to tell you the truth. I'd say, empty out my prisons, dump them into the United States, don't ever let them back. And I would be doing it every bit as much as them. I don't blame them if they can get away with it, but they shouldn't be able to get away with it. So I said, you're not going to get the money. They call me up. They say, sir, I understand. And I know all 3 of them. I know all of them. I know all the leaders. They're all at the top of their game. And we have a bunch of dead weights, okay? We are being taken advantage of as a country so much. I've never seen anything like it. So they said, essentially the same conversation. Sir, good morning, sir. I understand there's a problem, sir. You have to understand, this has gone on for 10 years. They wouldn't take their people back. They wouldn't take MS-13 back. They dumped them in our country, wouldn't take them back. I said, well, you know, you're sending them up in the caravans and other ways, and you're not taking them back. You're never getting any more money from the United States. Sir, we would like to take them back. We would love to have MS-13 back with us. We think they're such wonderful people. Anyway, they made it very easy for us to get them back, and we took them back by the thousands, and we took also a lot of others back. And then these clowns took over the country, and everything closed up. And by the way, they're paying them now $4 billion, I understand. Can you believe it? And they don't take them back. It's just so sad to see what happens. They're paying much more money than I was talking about. They raised it. They actually felt it was good to pay them more. They said, why? They said, economic development. It's not economic development. It's the development of a dictator. Because they keep the money. They're not doing any economic development. We have the dumbest people in history running our country. Okay? The dumbest in history. And we have to get these people. So we brought it back at all. But what's happening to our country is being poisoned. And your schools and your children are suffering greatly because they're going into the classrooms, they're taking the seats, and they don't even speak English. It's crazy. And we have our people that aren't going into a classroom. We have students that were there last year. They're not allowed into the school this year. They're not allowed. It's crazy. We have our veterans sleeping on the streets, and we have illegal immigrants coming into our country living in luxury hotels above where the veterans are. It's so reverse of what it should be.
So I know you love New York City. I'm from New York originally. My dad grew up in Brooklyn in Flatbush. Yeah, New York. But like many other cities in America right now, it's a city in decline. You were in New York when Mayor Giuliani really did great reforms.
Right. He was such a great mayor. And, he also fought for a lot of things that he should. Hey, he was right about the laptop from hell. He was the one that came out. Rudy was right. Rudy was right about a lot of things. They have a hat. Trump was right about everything. But Rudy was right about a hell of a lot. He was right. He was the first one to see the laptop, I guess. And he revealed what was on there, and everyone hit him hard. He's actually a very brave guy, but he was a great mayor, and he took over the city when it was in really bad shape and very dangerous, and he made it the safest big city in the country, and made it beyond that. It was a vibrant city. And now it's got tremendous problems. And in all fairness, look, you have hundreds of thousands of illegal migrants here. How do you do it? You can't run it. I read where they're spending billions of dollars. I thought New York had no money, and yet they're spending billions of dollars of money, and it's not given by the federal government. So how are they doing this? The city is suffering. They're all suffering. No city can take in, when you think that 21 million people came into our country. That's bigger than New York. 21 million people came into our country. No country can take that. Nobody can withstand that. It's going to bring us down. And in addition to that, many of these people are hard criminals. And we have to get them out. And we're going to have deportation at the highest level we've ever had. As a higher level, the highest deportation was a pretty moderate guy, but Dwight Eisenhower, he hated that our country was being swamped. And Dwight D. Eisenhower, president of the United States, a good president, good general. He won because he's a general. And, generals, by the way, I don't know, a little statistic. So of the presidents, 92% were politicians, and 8%, before me, 8% were generals. And then I came along. And I don't think any rich guy will ever do it. They're looking at Trump, they're saying, I don't know. They all wanted to do it. They said, if Trump can do it, I can do it, I can do it. But they see what you have to go through. They're saying, maybe I won't give it a shot.
So let's talk a little bit about family, because we really feel at Moms for Liberty that family and parental rights are under attack in America. All of America got to meet your granddaughter Kai at the Republican National Convention. It's very obvious that you love being a father and a grandfather. So I'd love to know why you choose and continue to choose to work with your children in business and politics. And do you have any advice for people with working with your kids?
Well, I've always liked it. I don't know that I'll be doing it very much politically, because I think it's been very unfair to them. Like, Ivanka was she could have done anything. Great student, great, beautiful girl, beautiful everything. She was a perfect person, worked hard. She gave up. Do you remember the Ivanka line and all?
I loved those shoes. Please tell your daughter. She made great shoes.
She was making so much money with that thing. I was saying, what the hell is going on? It was so hot. And then I ran for politics. And the truth is, she wanted to come. She pretty much gave it up. It was really good. Great shoes, great everything. Very stylish, and a lot of people still talk about it. But she gave it up because she wanted to go, and she didn't want something like the United Nations secretary. I wanted her to do that. I said, you would be a great ambassador to the United Nations secretary. There'd be nobody to compete with her. I tell you, she may be my daughter, but nobody could have competed with her rat-tat-tat, the whole deal she's got. And she said, Daddy, I don't want to do that. I just want to help people get jobs. And she would go around, not a glamorous job, but she felt so good about it. She would go around to see Walmart, to see Exxon, to see all these big companies, to hire people. And she had hired like millions of people during the course of her stay. And I mean, always there was nothing ever good. It was just very tough. I think if she were a Democrat, it would have been, it's much easier to be a Democrat, let me put it that way.
Apparently you don't have to take any interviews.
That's right. You don't have to do anything. We saw that the other night. And you won't see too many more interviews. And I have a debate coming up with this one. And she didn't want to debate. She didn't want to debate. They were not happy about it, but they got the network that they wanted. This network is the worst of all. George Slobodanopoulos, you know who he is. But they are the worst in terms of that. So they wanted the network. And, you know, it was like with Biden. They came to me, they wanted to do a debate. I said, isn't it a little bit early? Like, you know, we just started. Do you want to do it now? And yes, yes. And they thought that if they said it was going to be Dana Bash, who last night was extremely easy. There was no like, why aren't you doing this? Or why did you say 1,000 times that there'll be no fracking in Pennsylvania, and then all of a sudden say, oh, we'll have fracking?
It felt like a multiple choice quiz. She would give her like several answers that she could have given.
Yeah, they were feeding it to her. I was surprised, actually. I mean, I was surprised she didn't do a lot of interviews, but she's not good at it, I guess. And they knew that. They knew something that we didn't know. I think she would have been better off if she just did interviews, even if they weren't great. It would have been better than, because now everyone's watching, and now we see she's defective. She's a defective person. And we don't need another defective person as president of the United States. We just had that.
I've heard you talk about your mom in interviews before. She was obviously a very strong woman. Was she hard on you with school? Tell us about your mom a little bit.
No, she wasn't. She was great. I had a great mother, great father, very different people. My mother came from Scotland, and she came over to this country. Are there people from Scotland? You know, actually, that's hidden. Do you know that some of the biggest, smartest, most brilliant leaders in business come from Scotland, and nobody knows it? Or at least, you know, their parents came from Scotland. But Scotland did very well in this country. I'll tell you, it's very, like, we have people, and I know that one group, they're a very successful group. Now, she came from Scotland, great place, and she came over just for the summer, and she was 19, I guess. And she met my father, and they had a very long marriage. I said, I'll never top you on that, Pop. You know, you always want to be a little bit better than your father if you can, a little more. And my father loved that. You know, some fathers don't like it. When you have a father that doesn't want his son to be a success, well, you got a problem with a father. But there are plenty of them. I've seen plenty of them. They make it actually hard for the son. But no, I had the opposite. I had a father that loved what was happening. But they met. They fell in love, they got married, and they were married for 6.5 decades.
Wow.
A long time. I said, Pop, I'm not going to be able to beat you with that. But anyway, and they had just a great marriage, very different people, but they had a great marriage, very, very strong marriage.
So I want to talk to you a little bit about The Apprentice.
Okay.
We talk a lot at Moms for Liberty that we're in the middle of a cultural revolution in America. People like to be dismissive and say it's a culture war, but truly the culture is being changed. I look at you as a president and perhaps our next president, hopefully our next president. That's right. And you are a cultural icon. So you had The Apprentice. It ran for, am I right, is it 14 seasons?
14 seasons, 12 years, yeah. We had actually one season where it was on for 3 times during the season. That means they liked it. But it was basically 12 years and 14 seasons, yeah.
How do you think you kept the audience that long?
Well, it just worked. I mean, we had... Mark Burnett is great, a producer. He did Survivor, and he came to me, and they rented the Woolman Rink. He wanted to rent it for the finale of Survivor, so it'd have like this jungle setting facing New York City, right in the middle of Central Park. It was gorgeous. It was beautiful. And he invited me. I didn't know him, but he was a young producer. He was the producer of the Survivor, and he was hot because Survivor was a very successful show on CBS. And I went there. I said, wow, this is great. I rented him the rink, so I wanted to see it also, but he invited me. I went there, watched the show. And he said, I really invited you because I have a concept of a show. And it's sort of Survivor with the asphalt jungle aspect of it, right? The Apprentice. And he told me, and I said, wow, that's interesting. He said, I'll only use you. There's nobody else I want to do it. If you don't do it, I'm not going to do it. So I thought about it, and I had an agent from a very big agency, and he said, don't do it. You don't do it. There's never been a business show in history that's been successful. Business shows are not successful in prime time. There's never been, I guess, a business show successful. I said, well, this isn't really a business show. This is sort of a different kind of a show than a business show. It's got a little business to it, but really it's more than a business show. He said, don't do it. He was a very respected guy, actually. He was a good guy, but he told me not to do it, don't do it. And then I made the deal with ABC, and the deal was done. And then Eisner, you remember Eisner, a previous guy a while ago, he's heard about the deal, and he broke the deal. He said, I can make a better deal than that, so let's make a better deal. And I got angry about it, and so did Mark Burnett. And everybody wanted us. They wanted us. So we got a call from Jeff Zucker, of all people, from, at the time, from NBC. Then he was heading up NBC, and they were having a real drought. They hadn't had a top 10 show in a long time, and they were not doing well. And I'll never forget, we walked into his office. He took the key out of the door and threw it under the chair in Rockefeller Center. He locked the door. He said, you're locked in. We're not going to leave the room until we have a deal. So we made a deal, and ABC was not happy about it. Actually, the man from ABC that made the deal with us, the top person, I think like the president, he quit over this, and he quit. He said, we made a deal with these people, and he was second guessed by Eisner, and he actually quit, and there was a lot of anger about it, but we made a deal with NBC instead of ABC. We did have the original deal with ABC. Anyway, it goes on television, and the first week it was like at number 10, which is very, very hard. And by the way, the agent told me, you've got to break the deal. You're going to be embarrassed because you're going to have a total failure, and you're going to be embarrassed. So it goes on. It opens at 10, which is amazing. And NBC was happy because now they have a top 10 show. And then it went through various things like number 8, number 7. It got progressively better. And it finished up as the #1 show on television. I'm sitting there. Can you believe this? And I mean, you remember, it was just the hottest.
I watched The Apprentice. We love the show, yeah.
The finale actually of that season had 42.5 million. It was second to the Super Bowl. It was always the Academy Awards, and we beat the Academy Awards. Since then, the Academy Awards has gone to hell. It's incredible. You know why? Because all they do is, political stuff. They've destroyed it. But, so it finished up, and #1. And I'll never forget, and I enjoyed it. I said, I have the #1 show, and I didn't even have an agent. And so I get a call from the agent. I'll never forget, 6 o'clock in the morning, he called me. He says, I want to congratulate you. Show's #1. I said, yeah, it is. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it. He said, could I come over and see you? I said, why? He said, so we could work out a fee. I said, you told me not to do it. There's no way I'm paying you a commission. You told me not. They wanted to get a commission. I said, there's no way. I said, if it was up to you, I would have never done it. I have the #1 show. You said I couldn't make it. So there's a little things. But it was successful for years. It just did well. And then around the 13th, actually the 12th season, they put me into a poll with a real stiff named Mitt Romney, total stiff. This guy's bad news. He's worse than a rhino. And and he was running, and they just put me into a poll. I think it was NBC, and I was watching Meet the Press, actually, and with Sleepy Eyes Chuck Todd. Did you ever hear of him? He's a sleepy guy, isn't he? Sleepy Eyes. Another beauty. So they put me into a poll, And in the poll, I go to number one. I rated number one. Romney's a senator. And I was in various polls, and I kept saying, you know, I'm always like rated number one. And I wanted to get out, but I couldn't get out of the contract because I had an apprentice. Plus, I had 2 buildings that I was finishing. I wanted to get them finished. Not good when you don't finish them. Rely on somebody else. You don't want to do it. But I said, you know, maybe if I have a chance, I'll do it the next time. And I did it the next time I ran. And we had 17 people. It was a rather violent series of debates, if you remember, right? Rosie O'Donnell, only Rosie O'Donnell. That was a tough one. Only Rosie O'Donnell. You've said this and that. I won't use the terms. You've called women this and that and that. And a lot of it was show business related. I said, only Rosie O'Donnell. And the place went crazy. And the second question I got was Brett Baer. He said, this was a Fox one. And he said, please raise your hand if you will not support the winner of the group of 17 people, whoever wins the nomination. So I raised my hand. I was the only one. I said, I can't say for sure I'm going to support. I don't like certain of the people. I don't know them. A couple of them I do. You remember that? Those were my first 2 questions. Only Rosie O'Donnell, and I raised my hand. And I said that. I was honest, and the place went crazy. So actually, they were 2 of the more interesting. They were the first 2 questions I had. I went through a lot of debates. I went through like 14, 15 debates then. Then we had the debate with crooked Hillary Clinton. Remember that one?
Oh, that
was pretty good.
Who doesn't remember that debate?
That was a pretty good one. Crooked Hillary, she was a crooked one. And we had, what? So politics has been very interesting. It never stops, right? Then we had the debate last time with Sleepy Joe Biden.
Yeah.
How did he do? He was sharp as a tack.
I would just like to say, I thought you handled yourself so beautifully in that interview. I have to be honest.
Thank you.
For many Americans who have watched as their family members have aged and have experienced dementia, it was difficult to watch President Trump. I think there were a lot of parents that were watching with their children, and there was a moment when he had a very hard time collecting his thoughts, and I just thought that you handled it with such grace. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Well, I was a little surprised, and you know, I was surprised by a lot of things. So I came on the stage and I looked, and I looked at him just for a brief moment because I really didn't look at him. I didn't want to look at him. I was angry at him because I think he's done a horrible job for the country. I think he's been the worst president we've ever had, and that includes the worst vice president. She's been rated the worst vice president, and don't forget, she was last in terms of getting the job. You know, she competed for his job, and I think they had 22 people or something, and she was the first one to quit. She bombed. And she quit, and then all of a sudden she's now running. And from my standpoint, I spent $100 million fighting Joe Biden. And even during the convention, you know, we're only talking about Biden, Biden, Biden. And then we're not fighting him anymore. We're fighting somebody else. He got 14 million votes. I'm not saying he should have gone on, but I think it seems unfair because a lot of people did a lot better than him. Like you had a person that came in second and third and fourth, and you know, Bernie Sanders actually essentially came in second place, I guess, right? And so you'd say, you know, why aren't you doing a democratic process? So, you know, I'll give them some of their stuff. They are a threat to democracy. They say
that's right.
They are a threat to democracy. So she was also, she was the nastiest person to him. You know, remember she called him a racist. The bus, you remember the story of the bus, you know, yeah. Fake story probably. Well, she also said, I worked at McDonald's. It turned out she didn't work at McDonald's. Did anybody see that? After an exhaustive study that took about 20 minutes, they found out she never worked there. So, you know, there's a lot of fake stuff going on. But we don't need that for a president. And our country can't stand it. We are really in trouble. We're a failing nation. Whether you like it or not, and I'm sure you don't like it, but we are a very sick nation. We're a failing nation. And on top of it, we have millions of people in here that we can't have them if they were great, but you're not going to have people where they're emptying the doors to jails and emptying the doors to mental institutions where seriously sick people are coming into our country, and no country can stand this. There's no country can stand it. So I was not happy with him because, I only did it because I want to help the country. I didn't need this. I had a very nice life. Some of you know, I see some of you in here, you know how you've known me for a long time, long before politics. I had a nice life. But even running again, if I thought he was good and I thought he was doing a good job, I would have been happy. But he's not. He's doing a horrible job. And, he's been absent for a long time. If you go back 25 years, he wasn't the brightest bulb in the ceiling, I can tell you that. And he was not doing a job. And I've told this, and I mean it. I would have been happy if he were a great president. And I wouldn't have run. I also wouldn't have run if I didn't think I won the election. I mean, I think we won that election by so much. If I thought I lost that election, I absolutely wouldn't have run because I would have lost the election. But I think we did phenomenally. I mean, honestly, we got millions of more votes than we did in the first election. We did great in the first one. We won. And I was told we got 63 million votes in the first election. I was told if we get 63 million votes, same number, there's no way we can be defeated. I got 10 or 12 million votes more than that, more than anybody had ever got. We got the most votes of anybody, of any sitting president in history. And he beat us by a whisker. And it was a terrible thing. They used COVID to cheat. And it was a terrible thing. And then I watched, and I thought it was very, very sad because of, the election it brought great division to the country. But I watched, and I saw how bad things were. I saw the border, the open border and everything. I found out about the open border when we built hundreds of miles, and then we had a little bit more that I was going to add because there were certain areas that you needed it. And we had everything fabricated, very expensive wall. Those walls are expensive. They're steel, concrete, and rebar. And they have a lot of wiring in them for all sorts of security equipment. But it's very expensive stuff. It's exactly what Border Patrol wanted. They have anti-climb bars and everything on them. So we did them. It could have been erected in 3 weeks. And they kept saying, we're not going to do it. And then I realized they weren't going to do it. And they sold much of that wall for 5 cents on the dollar. So, that's when I realized they actually want open borders. Because you say to yourself, who would want open borders? Who would want men playing in women's sports? I mean, just think of this stuff. No, but who would want that? All the things.
Kamala Harris, apparently.
Yeah. No, she wants it. You talk about, like, cars. I'm a big fan of Elon. Elon gave me tremendous endorsement. It's good, isn't it? He's going to have to send a rocket up to get those people out of there. That's crazy. He's great. I said, when are you sending a rocket up? Well, Elon is a very different kind of a guy. As he thinks, he talks. Whereas a lot of people, they want the words to be perfect and all. And they think less and talk more, right? With Elon, it's like, well, I'm doing a new stainless steel hub that can get us around the engines much quicker because there's a problem with the type of engine going into space nowadays. And I'm hearing but in the end, I think we can have a good hookup because of the new foils that are coming up. And I'm hearing everything that's going through his mind. But he's a super genius guy.
Oh, I loved that conversation that you had on Twitter. I listened to the whole thing. I thought that was absolutely fantastic.
I think we're going to do another one, too. They had a number, like I heard 750 million. They had a number that was so crazy and large. And we had a good time. We talked for 2.5 hours. And, it was the number one ever. There's never been anything like it in terms of people listening or watching or whatever. But he's a great guy. But I said to him, you know, the one thing is that, and I'm a huge fan of his electric car. I think it's incredible, his car. I think what he does. And I'm a big fan of electric, but they don't go far. And they are expensive. And China does have the material. We have gasoline, more gasoline than anybody else has. I call it liquid gold. We have liquid gold. But, and electric absolutely has a place. You know, you have electric, but you have to have gasoline-powered cars and hybrid-powered cars, and maybe hydrogen is going to be next, who knows? But, you know, the things that they're proposing. You know, it's interesting. I mentioned men playing in women's sports. So the Olympics, we watched the Olympics, right? And did you see the boxing situation, right?
Yes, sir, we did.
So you had this beautiful champion Italian female boxer, and she was supposed to be very good against women. And I was watching it for some reason. I find it very interesting. And she was fighting a person that transitioned. And I wouldn't want to fight this person, but transitioned and met certain qualifications.
So can we talk about that for a second?
Yeah.
Because Elon, you're talking about Elon Musk. Elon Musk recently did an interview with Jordan Peterson, and he talked about the fact that one of his children has decided that they're transgender. He talked about the woke mind virus. When you look at Tim Walz, who is now Kamala Harris's running partner, he has made his state a sanctuary city, sir, which means that a sanctuary state, for children, that they can go there and have gender surgeries paid for by the government.
Yeah,
and so I just ask you, there's been an explosion in the number of children who identify as transgender, and children are being taught that they were born in the wrong body. It's an incredibly abusive message to send. So let's talk a little bit about some of the things that you might be able to do as president.
Well, you can do everything. President has such power. It does. It has such power. For instance, you can close the border. You don't need a bill. You know, they keep saying, well, just give us a bill. It's just they had the worst bill I've ever seen. It was a disaster. And they wouldn't have signed it anyway, because they do want open borders. They want to have open borders. They want to have all sorts of things that almost nobody in this room wants, who I think 85-90% of the country doesn't want if they actually
I absolutely
know about
agree
it.
with you.
But the transgender thing is incredible. Think of it. Your kid goes to school and comes home a few days later with an operation. The school decides what's going to happen with your child. And, you know, many of these childs, 15 years later, say, what the hell happened? Who did this to me? They say, who did this to me? It's incredible. Just to finish that boxing, so the Italian girl is, and the left is not a hard punch for those of you not into pugilistic affairs. But a left is just sort of a guarding punch, right? So she's fighting this person that's transgendered, and the guy, boom, hits her with a left. It was like she got hit by a horse. And then she backed up. It was weird. She sort of like, and then he hits her with another left, and she said, that's enough, I can't take that. He ended up winning the gold medal. And there was another one who also transgendered, and he or she ended up also winning the gold medal. Yeah. Tiffany said it, I didn't. See, I'm a politician. I have to be politically correct.
I'm a mom. I have to protect my kids.
No, but think of it. So the two people, the transgender, the whole thing is crazy. Have you seen the swimming records lately?
Oh, my goodness.
How about the weightlifting records? That's one of the best. You know, a record that was like for 18 years, they'd put a quarter of an ounce on one side, quarter of an ounce, a little bit on one, a little bit. I think held for 18 years. This guy walks along, what did he beat the record by? 115 pounds. It's crazy. The volleyball, where a championship volleyball player is playing against a team, and one or two of the people had transitioned, and the ball was hit so hard into the head of the other girl on the other side that she was knocked out, had a concussion, and she said, you know, she was a championship player, like an All-American player. She said, I played volleyball all my life. I've never seen a ball travel at that speed. It's crazy. And even with all of that, they won't change. And you know what? Everyone's afraid to talk about it.
Not
Even
me.
the people, not Tiffany. Not Tiffany.
We're going to fight to keep our girls safe, President Trump. We're going to fight to make sure that our girls have privacy and safety in their bathrooms, and that they have Kristi Noem, I think, said it best. She said, "We will not allow mediocre men to beat extraordinary women."
Yeah. That's right. It's also very demeaning to women. I don't know how they get away with it. But the Olympics was the best thing that I've seen, because you really see when these boxers came out, it was so ridiculous. And they just go through it like nothing. And why should women have to, swimming too, why should women have to compete? Now, it was sort of hard to get in. I don't know how these two people got in, but they got in. Because in some cases, you know, they weren't allowed in, so they have a crazy standard going on. But it's so demeaning to women, and women are working so hard to like make a team or to make a record. And these records that are being set now by people that transitioned will not be broken.
That's right.
Maybe 1,000 years from now by a woman, I don't know. But they're not going to be broken by
You're right.
a woman. It's a very sad thing. And you know, Kamala is totally in favor. Now, she's gone away from everything. You know, she's called the greatest flip-flopper in history. She loves fracking now. She said, there will never be fracking. We will never frack. And everything that she said would do, she's now doing it. There's like 12 or 14 things. There's never been anything like this. And, you know, in one way, it makes you very dishonest because, you know, I could see somebody throughout history, people have gone into one or two areas where there's a difference. You know, you like something and then all of a sudden but almost every single thing. In fact, we're seriously thinking about sending her tomorrow a MAGA hat because she loves everything we're doing. So we're going to send her a nice, bright red, Make America Great Again hat.
You should do that. I loved when J.D. Vance said that he thought maybe she might come out at the debate with a blue suit and a red tie on.
That's right. That could happen. It's crazy.
So, President Trump, you know, our moms are busy women, and they have families and busy lives, right? And many of them never thought that they would get involved in politics and run. Did you ever think about running for office at other times in your lives? And then just some advice, because you come under fire a lot. Our moms are standing for things that often the media attacks them on. We'd love to get some advice from you about running for office.
Yeah, so I would say don't do it.
No. Run for office. We want you to run for office.
I do say this, though. It is nastier to run as a Republican than it is. Now, I'm the ultimate, you know, I mean, they suffer from a thing called TDS. Do you know what that is?
Yes.
TDS, it's a horrible, horrible terminal disease. It destroys the mind. It destroys the mind before the body, but the body eventually goes. TDS is Trump derangement syndrome. They have it at levels. They can't even stand their life. They can't stand anything. And, you know, part of the reason is I won an election which everybody said couldn't be won. Couldn't be won for a lot of reasons. Number one, he had never done it before. You know, it's not that easy to be a politician. I mean, you have to have something. And we won, and we really did a great job. You know, we rebuilt the military. We gave the largest tax cuts ever, the largest regulation cuts. In terms of health, we did something that was amazing. We had right to try. You know, we have the greatest scientists in the world, greatest doctors in the world, greatest laboratories in the world, better than anybody else, much better than China. China's very good, but much better. Acknowledged. And we have things to fight off diseases that will not be approved for another 5 or 6 years, that people that are very sick, terminally ill, should be able to use, but there was no mechanism for doing it. And I got everybody into a room. The insurance companies didn't want to allow it because they're terminally ill. They don't want to do it because then they'll get sued for somebody dying even though they're terminally ill. The states didn't want it. The government didn't want it, the federal government. Most of all, the doctors and the labs didn't want it because they didn't want to say that we're going to try and make somebody better. They didn't get better, and now everyone's going to say whatever it is doesn't work. And I got them all into a room, everybody, and I said, here's what we're doing. You're going to sign these documents. Nobody's going to have liability. If somebody wants to come, because, you know, they'd fly to Asia, they'd fly to Europe, most of them didn't have money, they'd go home and they'd die. It was a hopeless situation. But if they had money, they'd go to Asia, they'd go to Europe. We have much better technology. And what happened is I got everybody in a room. I said, listen, there's not going to be any liability. People are going to sign a document that they're not going to sue the country, they're not going to sue the state, they're not going to sue the doctors or the medical platforms. They're not going to sue anybody. They just want the drug. And we have saved thousands and thousands of lives. It's amazing. It actually worked out differently. The drug companies now are liking it to a certain extent because it's the ultimate test. Somebody's terminally ill, and all of a sudden they get better, and it's happening with thousands. And I got that done. They've been trying for 60 years to get it done, and we got it done. They don't have to fly away. And it's really had the reverse. People were finding cures to things that when a terminally ill person, a person that's almost ready to die, goes in and starts taking something, and now all of a sudden that person gets better. It's an amazing thing, and we save thousands of lives. So we've done a lot of things.
We'll talk about parental rights if we could for a little bit. We're a parental rights organization. And we saw Terry McAuliffe lose his bid for governor in Virginia. Remember that?
Yeah. I actually do remember that.
And he said famously that he didn't think that parents should be making decisions about what their children were learning in school. And we believe that every parent has a fundamental right to direct the upbringing of their children, right? And that includes their education. So what do you plan to do at the federal level to help us to protect parental rights and education freedom like school choice?
Okay, so I like to say that we're the party of common sense. I mean, we're conservative and all of that. But walls are common sense, right? All of the things we're talking about, no men and women sports, no gender operation. I mean, there's these operations, it's crazy. You know, I don't know if you know, Europe has gone totally away from it now.
Yes, sir.
We're way behind them. They don't do it anymore. And this is just horrible. But who could even believe this is happening? So think of it. You have these parents that end up in fistfights at school meetings, and the parents mean well. They end up getting arrested, put in prison. I've seen things, especially Loudoun County, right? Loudoun County, it's a hotbed. Anybody from Loudoun? You know, I have the property. I have the big, great golf course there, right on the. I offered. You had the head of one of your groups that was very impressive to me, and I said, anytime you want to use my land along the Potomac River, right under the American flag. I mean, I have sort of an unlimited capacity there. It's a lot of acres, and it's miles along the Potomac. It's truly beautiful. But you know, I'm for parental rights all the way. I don't even understand the concept of not being.
Thank you.
No, but when you see some of the things,
neither do we.
When you see some of the things, that's another. You know, like why would somebody want to have an open wall? When you see some of the things that they want people to do in these school boards, and they become like dictatorships, and the parents are screaming for the life of their child, a lot having to do with transgender, a lot having to do with a lot of other things, you've got to give the parents truly love the kids, okay? Some of these people on the boards, I think they don't like the kids very much, what they're doing. So you have to give the rights back to the parents. And I can't imagine it. Well, okay, this administration has been the opposite. This administration, it's like the FBI goes after the people. Like it's some kind of an insurrection. It's crazy.
Sir. They called us domestic terrorists, President Trump,
for
speaking out at school board meetings defending
Well, we'll
our
change
children.
that on the first day, I promise you that. No, can you believe it? You are not a domestic terrorist or a terrorist. We do have terrorists coming in, and they're coming in by the thousands, but you're not one, Tiffany.
Thank you very much.
We'll get that changed. And you know, the president can do that very easily. But you just wonder, where's the mindset to take the parents' rights? I see those meetings, and it does seem like Loudoun has a lot. You know, Loudoun is the ultimate example of it. It's so vocal. But tell the people in Loudoun County, if you would like to be on the Potomac River, beautiful, having a picnic and talking about taking your rights back, where you're allowed to say, could my son study a little bit of arithmetic instead of something else?
Could we teach the kids to read?
He should. That's correct.
That's right.
Yeah, let's teach him how to read, please. So, let them know that, though. That would be my honor.
I absolutely will, and thank you for that. We appreciate the support.
Thank you.
So, Tina Deskovich, the co-founder of Moms for Liberty, and I, we do a lot of interviews, and there's a lot of international interest, specifically Japan. We get asked for a lot of interviews, and we were talking with a reporter, and we said, why is there so much interest in Moms for Liberty in Japan? And he said, we are watching America's light dim. And we're very concerned, and we want to know what you're doing about it, and you guys are doing something. And so I feel like America is slipping back from the freedom and liberty and the beacon of light that we've been. So how will you take us forward?
We're a nation in decline. We are. And it's because of the people that we have leading our nation. We are a nation. I say this, and I said it a little bit in 2016, and I meant it. We had a bad border, but it was like unbelievably good compared to what we have now. I mean, we had a bad border, but it was a regular bad border. This is a border the likes of which there's never been anything like it. This is a horrible, many people are killed coming up in the caravans. It's rough stuff. You go through snake country, you go through, it's just these what happens. And by the way, remember I said rape when I first came? Well, rape is massive percentages of women are being raped and just beat to hell coming up in the caravans. It's, I say this, look, this is a very sophisticated audience. Mothers give their girls big bottles of birth control pills because they know bad things are happening to their daughters coming up. And we're allowing it to happen. We're telling them, come up, we're going to give you education, we're going to give you this. We're getting them to come up. If you say the border is closed, and it is closed, people aren't going to even come up. Those journeys up, when you talk about death, many people are dying, especially women. Many people are dying on the trips up. They're being mutilated, and it is a nasty. And when I first came, I said, I used the word rape. I remember I got great marks for the speech when I first announced I was running. I remember that in the lobby of Trump Tower. And 2 days later, I think the Times called, did you say rape? I got great marks. They said it was a great speech. And then they said, did he say rape? And I said, yeah, I said rape. That's what's happening. Tremendous levels. And after that, it was like, that's when it all began. And it was like, incredible what they said. Well, what I said is nothing compared to what the fact is. It is a horrible thing. Those caravans are mean. And you have people, 10 to 20, 25,000 people coming up in these massive caravans. And there's tremendous death and injury and problems that nobody would even believe. And we're causing this. But I did mention that word, and now everyone's saying, Trump was right. Trump was right. But you have to go through hell, and you have to say it. And, I respect you so much because you speak up. Like you said, no, we're all for that, right? Very few people would say what Tiffany said a couple of moments ago about something that was a little bit controversial, that shouldn't be controversial at all. But they just wouldn't do it. So when you said that, I said, that's refreshing to hear.
Thank you.
I just want to thank you for taking the time to meet with so many of the victims' families of crime that we've seen. Lake and Riley's family, for example. I'm just going to ask, what is that experience like for you, meeting with the parents of children who are being killed by illegal immigrants?
It's terrible. They're being killed by illegal aliens. You know, there's no correct term because any term you use, they criticize you. You shouldn't use the word alien. You shouldn't use the word migrant. They want to take all the words away so that you can't talk about the subject anymore.
That's exactly right.
But Laken was this beautiful young woman who was savagely beaten and killed by a migrant. But there are many of them. There are many of them. I can tell you the parents will never be the same. I was at the border 3 days ago with 3 people, 2 where their child was killed and 1 where she was badly injured, beautiful woman. She was badly hurt. They stole her car. She tried to stop them and they ran her over and this and that. She was, thought she was going to be dead, but she had a terrible fracture of the head. And I had a case, it was very interesting. The 13 people that were killed in Afghanistan, you all know about that. That was grossly incompetent. Getting out was fine because I was going to get out. I would have been out before them, but we had an election that happened. But we would have been out with dignity and strength. We would have taken the military out last, not first. They took the military out first. But they had 13 people killed, and I got to know many of the families of the 13. It was a terrible, tragic thing. None of them should have died. Those people were essentially killed by a stupid administration that didn't know what they're doing, and bad generals like Milley, who was a bad general. And, nobody was fired. It was the most incompetent. I think it's the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, the way it happened. Remember the planes taking off and people falling off the planes. Many people fell to their death. They were hanging onto the wings. They probably thought they could take the plane and fly on the plane, and they didn't realize the plane's going 500 miles an hour. And they fell off at 3,000 feet. That's 3 times the height of the Empire State Building. They fell off. They started falling off, and then they all were off, and a lot of people. But it was a horrible, horrible moment. But you had 13 people killed, many people badly injured, meaning no legs. We had 1, no arm, no legs, and the arm that was left was battered. Face was badly hurt. And these are people, this is just horrible casualties. But I got to know the people. I felt very badly, and they viewed me as their president, frankly. And I don't want to do anything about it. I don't want to say that, but they viewed me. And I everybody knew because it was covered, but not covered like the press should cover it. The press doesn't talk about bad things. They don't talk about what happened in Afghanistan anymore with the Taliban, with that horrible leaving. It wasn't the leaving. It was great to leave because, they were there for like 20 years and we were leaving, but we were going to keep Bagram, which is one of the biggest Air Force bases in the world. And we're keeping it not because of Afghanistan, but because of China, because it was 1 hour away from where China makes its nuclear weapons. So we were keeping that. And it would have been fine, but it was time now to turn it over. Despite the threat to democracy, I did turn that over. I didn't say, they said, he'll never give it over. These people are crazy. They're crazy. But anyway, so I gave it over, and then they took over. And I didn't have anybody killed in Afghanistan for 18 months. I had a long talk with the head of the Taliban, who's really the boss. And his name is Abdul. And I said, Abdul, don't do it. Don't do it. You don't do it. And he said, but why, sir? Why do you send me a picture of my home? Abdul, you'll have to figure that one out. He went, but why do you send me a picture of my home, Your Excellency? He called me Your Excellency. And he was fine. Look, I said, you can't do it. You can't do it. You hit any. They had snipers that were killing our people. Our wonderful soldiers, snipers from a long distance. And we didn't lose one person in 18 months. And then we had this catastrophe happen, which should have never happened. We had them in good shape, but we had to get out. It's ridiculous that we were there. And we left $85 billion worth of equipment. They became brand new equipment, too. Equipment that I bought. They left brand new goggles, tanks, planes. We left it there. instead of taking it out. I remember when Milley told me, General Milley, he's one of the woke guys, you know, he was saying, you know all about him, he's bad news, bad general. But he was saying, sure, I think we should leave the equipment behind. I said, why? Because I was talking about getting out, and I was going to get out. I brought it down to the number of men, but we had to keep Bagram. You got to keep the Air Force, the big base, built many years ago for billions and billions of dollars. But he said, sir, we should leave the equipment behind. Why? Well, it's much less expensive. I said, wait a minute. We got a $150 million airplane, and we could fill it up with a little gas, a tank of airplane fuel, and fly it to Pakistan or fly it all the way back home. You think it's cheaper to leave it? And it's a new plane? You think it's cheaper? You think it's cheaper to leave Army tanks where we could put them in a trailer and take? Yes, sir, it's cheaper. I said, this guy is really bad. It's true. And that's when I lost total respect for the guy. I didn't have a lot because, you know, you never got good news. I want people where there's good news, you know? Like the general I used to knock out I knocked out 100% of ISIS. It was supposed to take 5 years. It took about 4 weeks, right? We have a great military. I'll tell you, I had a great general in charge of that, and he knocked the hell out of him. He said, sir, I can do it in about 4 weeks. They said, why didn't they do it before? Sir, they didn't want to really fight. They wanted to be politically correct, sir. But it was amazing. We have, I just say to this room, we have a great military. And our real military is not going to be woke. You couldn't convince them to be woke if you screamed at them all day for the next 10 years. But the guys on television are woke, and a lot of the top people are woke, but they'll all be gone pretty quick. They're going to all be gone. You get them out. You get them out.
When I was in Milwaukee, I got to meet some of the Gold Star families. And sir.
Yeah, we had a big problem. So I was called by these families. There were probably 4 of them. There was also somebody very badly injured with the legs and everything. And they asked me, would it be possible, 2 days ago, right, to go to Arlington National Cemetery to celebrate the life of their children who had been killed 3 years ago. And this was the whole thing, the whole disaster in Afghanistan, where they set off a bomb and probably 500 people were killed altogether. And we got to think of the other side also, but it was a terrible thing. But we lost 13 soldiers. We had 45 soldiers that were really badly hurt, too. Nobody ever talks. You ever notice somebody loses their leg or both legs or their arm, in one case, an arm and 2 legs, and nobody ever talks about them. They talk about, because we have to remember that those people are, boy, nobody ever talks about them. And we had some people that were horrifically injured. Anyway, they called and they said, sir, would you be able to come? Now, I got to know them because I have a place in Bedminster, New Jersey, which is a spectacular place. And they wanted to know whether they like New Jersey. New Jersey is good. New Jersey has some of the most beautiful things. So this is a beautiful place. And I had most of the families there about 1.5 years ago. And they all wanted to know whether or not I'd be showing up. I didn't know if I could. And when I heard they were there, I went out and I saw them. And they thought I was going to stay for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, shake everyone's hand and leave. I ended up staying with them like for 4.5 hours. We listened to music up with the members. We have this beautiful deck overlooking everything. And you're looking at the sky, great food, a very luxurious place. I mean, it's beautiful. And we had, I don't know, like 20, 25 people, members of the family of these 13 people, of most of the 13. And we ended up listening to music, Elvis and Elton John and everybody. And certain songs were very sad, and I'd point to the sky. I said, your son is looking down at you, and he's very proud. Oh, the people, it was like crazy. I was with him like for 4.5 hours. My 15 minutes, do you think we could get him to stay for 15 minutes? Could he sign something, a picture of my son? So I ended up staying there, and I got to know him. And I got a call a little while ago, like a week, 2 weeks, and they asked whether or not it would be possible to go to Arlington National Cemetery 2 days ago. And also, could I say, for the changing of the guard and the whole thing, which was beautiful. I did that. But it was very tough for me to get there because I was doing something else. I had to get out of something that was not easy to get out of. And I did that, and I did the changing. And then they said, could you come with us to the graves of, which is quite a bit away. You know, you had to go into cars and go into, you know, through the cemetery, beautiful Arlington Cemetery. And I did that, and I was getting absolutely killed because they're calling me. They're saying, sir, we got a lot of people waiting. I said, don't worry about it. Let them wait. And I did it. And they're looking at the graves, and they're explaining. One of the mothers was saying, and I've had this a lot, actually. Sir, could I tell you about my son? Yes. He said, sir, he was a good football player. He was a quarterback. He had a very strong arm. And you know, he was playing another team, and it was a long story, and I just listened to it because I saw it was like therapy. She was so proud of him.
Oh, they loved you so much, President Trump. They had such wonderful things to say about you when we spoke. So they really appreciated that.
It was so good. But so they said, sir, could you take some pictures with us at the graves of our child? And, you know, the child, because the child may be 22 or 24, but that's their child, that's right? They're not saying at the grave of the man. You know, there's nothing political or anything. This was their child. This was their baby. Could you take a picture with? And these people are devastated. These people can never, ever be the same. And it was all because of Biden, okay? I'll get in trouble. I don't care. Get me in trouble. This should have never, ever happened. Nobody should have been killed. They should have left from Bagram, which is this massive base. They shouldn't have left from this little local airport where the whole city ends up piling in and everyone went crazy. And by the way, they shouldn't have taken the military out first. They should have taken the military out last when everything was gone. They took the military out, and I could just imagine Abdul, who's smart as hell. Somebody went to Abdul, and they said, Abdul, the American soldiers have left. He said, you're a stupid man to say that. Of course, that didn't happen. No, Abdul, they've left. I could just see it, the conversation. Then he found out they left. He said, I can't believe it. And once they left, they had a field day. What they did to us was incredible. But they kept everything. But thanks. So the people were coming up to me and said, sir, could I have a picture of you at the grave of my son? I said, absolutely. I would love to do that. So the whole family gathered around. We had the beautiful, you know, stone, the marble with the name of the soldier on. Shouldn't have been on it because they shouldn't have been dead. And we took pictures at the different grave sites. And that was it. It was beautiful. And they were all crying. Everybody was crying. You know, it was very sad. Terrible. It's even worse when there was no reason for it to happen. You know, it makes it even worse. It's one thing, it's a war. But here's the thing, it shouldn't have happened. Just incompetent. It was the most embarrassing day in the history of our country, but it shouldn't have happened. And these kids shouldn't have been dead. And the 45 people that were so badly hurt, and frankly, the 300 people, mostly civilians from the other side, they shouldn't have been dead. Just a grossly incompetent group of people. So,
thank you for respecting our dead, Mr. President.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. Just to finish, though, thank you very much. Appreciate it. So, but just to finish. So I took pictures. I said to people, should I tell this story? I told this story once today. I said, should I tell it? Because I think it's a terrible thing. So I stood with the mothers, the fathers, sometimes both, sometimes a sister. There was a sister, beautiful sister, who also had some difficulty because of a war injury. But I stood with different people over different graves and took pictures. I didn't want to take pictures, but I wanted to take them if they wanted to take them. And the former president of the United States is with them. They're very happy about that, as happy as they can be, because they'll never be happy. And I took pictures, and that was it. And I left, and we said goodbye, and it was beautiful, actually. And then I get a call that night, sir, we're getting a complaint from the White House that you used the soldiers for publicity pictures and for public relations. And I said, I can't believe it. And I said, I can't believe it. So here's a guy that he killed those people, okay? These people were killed by Biden as far as I'm concerned. And then I get a call, and I'm taking pictures. These are pictures with parents, etc., sisters, brothers, people that are laying in the ground right there, shouldn't be dead. And I get a call, and I actually got a lot of bad publicity. They said, President Trump spent time at Arlington National Cemetery taking pictures and things. It's just so disgusting. And I'll tell you, if you haven't noticed, I get a lot of publicity. I don't need that publicity. I don't need that publicity. It doesn't. I get a lot. I get too much. I'd like to have half the publicity. I want to hire a PR person to get me half the publicity, all right? But
that's not normally what you hire PR people for. But I'm sure you could find someone.
I just thought it was such a terrible thing.
So I just want to tell you, I think it meant an incredible amount to them. I know it did. They've spoken about it. And thank you for loving the American people. Thank you for working to make America great again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So we thank you for your time today, spending time with us. I want to tell you, Moms for Liberty is a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization.
Yeah.
And we only endorse in school board races. But I want to tell you personally, sir, that I endorse you for President of the United States.
Thank you, Tiffany. That's very nice. Wow. I didn't even expect that. Thank you, Tiffany. Thank you. Good job. Barbara Walters. Thank you.
Been one of my favorite President Trump speaking engagements that I've seen. It was comfortable, it was confident, it was conversational. It was literally just everything you would want from a president of the United States to do, which is why we call it a fireside chat. He sat, let's see what the timing is. I believe it was at least an hour, about an hour and a half, I would say. And he just talked. He told the story. Well, we'll talk about that in a moment because he told stories. I want to recap it. But first, what I want to do is I want to say we couldn't do what we do here at RSBN without bringing you this incredible coverage thanks to our amazing sponsors. So before I wrap it up, because I do want to show, just kind of speak to a couple of the points. But first, I just want to talk real quickly about those of you who are suffering and struggling with back taxes and dealing with unfiled returns. Of course, you know that the IRS is escalating conditions. We want to make sure that the IRS does not take advantage of any of you. And so with over 14 years of experience, Tax Network USA has saved clients over $1 billion. $1 billion, a lot of money. And no matter what the size of your tax issue is, no matter where you live in the United States, they are there to help you. And Tax Network USA doesn't just negotiate, which they do very well, but in addition to that, they're also going to protect your assets. They're going to protect you. And so it's really important to know that they are licensed, they're ready to deal with you, and the clock is ticking. You don't want to waste any time. Call 1-800-357-1415. Again, that's 1-800-357-1415. Visit tnusa.com/RSBN. Again, that's tnusa.com/RSBN. So make sure you don't miss out on that. Also, the big key focal point of today was about the moms, the families. President Trump even talked about his own parents and his own parenting. and it was beautiful to hear him talk about the kids of our country. And so the best-selling kids guide to President Trump is available for free to all of our viewers. You just have to pay shipping and handling. The guide has been updated for 2024, and you'll be able to read all about President Trump's policies, including his policies on immigration, which are so important. And of course, it's going to help for all of our young future voters to get to know the policies and the ramifications of the immigration policies as well. The Kids Guide to President Trump is your best way to understand for the children, and of course, it's going to help understand his vision for for his reimagining of what America can be under his next presidency. Just go to freetrumpbook.com, freetrumpbook.com. And finally, the Wellness Company. It is incredible. I'll tell you, I'm ordering for my whole family after the show because I want to make sure all of us have this. America needs to listen up with the world getting more unpredictable by the day. It's so important with assassination attempts and civil war rumors and everything that's going on, including bird flu. I mean, really, seriously, it is a threat that is looming right now. You have to just keep in mind that in October there's going to be a bird flu summit, very reminiscent of an event that happened with the COVID-19 pandemic. And here's the good news to all of this, okay? You don't have to be scared if you are prepared. And the Wellness Company created the Contagion Emergency Kit. The Contagion Emergency Kit, and every home in America should have at least one. They're packed with life-saving medications that are going to help you. It's all completely backed by Dr. Peter McCullough, and you don't have to worry about frantic searches for a doctor, long lines in waiting rooms. Times like these, it's so important to have your Contagion Emergency Kit. Every family should have at least one in their home, and it is a necessity, not just a want, it's a need. So prepare yourself. Don't be scared. Be prepared. Get the kit now by going to twc.health/RSBN. twc.health/RSBN. Grab your kit, and by the way, if you use the code RSBN, you will save $45 at checkout, and the kits are only available in the USA. So I'm going to throw it back to my friend Bobby, but first, I just want to mention a couple quick things. President Trump was talking about some statistics, which I loved. He said that out of all presidents, right, all the presidents that were ever presidents, 92% were politicians, 8% were generals. And then there was Trump, the businessman. So he's in a league of his own, obviously. Another thing that he said that stood out to me, well, of course, he talked about the children. He talked about the border. He talked about all of the important things that are going on right now and the crime in our country. He talked about how Apprentice came to be, the TV show, and how that whole thing went down with his agent, the whole thing. It was a great story. He just talked so conversationally, and so he really let us in. I felt like I was overhearing somebody's conversation at a house party. Like, you go to a house party and a family's talking in the living room, sitting on the couch having discussions. That's what it felt like. And it was just, I really urge you to go back and listen if you didn't. It was so interesting to hear stories about Ivanka and stories about his life as, a TV star. And of course, he talked a lot about what he sees as the vision for children in America moving forward, and of course what he wants to see change and what he wants to see get better, because that's how you make America great again. And of course, he did talk about the story that I shared with all of you earlier regarding him going to the cemetery. Just incredible stories. Thank you so much for joining us live from our nation's capital in Washington, D.C. I'm Nikki Stanzione. It was a pleasure to be with all of you. I'm throwing it over to the studio to my good friend, Bobby McNeely. I will see all of you again very soon. Follow me at Nick Stans on Truth and Instagram. Bobby, it's over to you.
Thank you to Nikki Stanzione. Amazing coverage at the Moms for Liberty event in Washington, D.C. These happy warriors gathered starting yesterday afternoon, and then we'll go into tomorrow. But the keynote speaker, President Donald Trump, the 45th president of the United States, seeking to be the 47th president of the United States. We'd like to thank our sponsors for this doubleheader. In these crazy times, there is peace of mind in security. Security for our country, security for our leaders, and most of all, financial security for our families. But think about this. If all of your eggs are in one nest, you're not financially secure. Gold and silver are an excellent way to diversify your savings, and they're also a hedge against inflation. And through my friends over at Birch Gold, who you can contact by texting Trump to 989898, you'll receive this great info kit that's been endorsed by patriots like Ben Shapiro, Steve Bannon, Ron Paul, and Dan Bongino, among others. You can own physical gold and silver in tax-sheltered retirement accounts. This is the one thing you could do today to secure your family savings, and through August only. If you reach out to Birch Gold by texting Trump to 989898, this brand new one-of-a-kind silver coin features Trump boldly raising his fist in the moments after the assassination attempt in Butler, Pennsylvania. You have the word fight, the date of July 13th, 2024. President Trump flanked by his Secret Service protection and an American flag adorned in that iconic photo on the back, our beautiful White House, which President and Mrs. Trump will be back in that beautiful house, the People's House, on January 20th, 2025. You don't want to miss your chance to own this special piece of history, a celebration of a leader dedicated to our security, preserved in the security of precious metal coins. Text Trump to 989898. Thank you to Birch Gold for sponsoring us. And again, welcome to RSBN, your 2024 election headquarters. Thank you to President Trump for shouting out our name at the Johnstown, Pennsylvania MAGA rally of over 10,000 people, lines for miles. It was an incredible event today, 57 miles east of Pittsburgh, outside of the Steel City. We are committed here at RSBN to bringing you the most comprehensive coverage of President Donald John Trump's campaign and so much more. So stay tuned, because we're just getting started now, almost 66 days out if you don't include this evening. So about 66 and a quarter days until the November 5th election. You don't want to miss a single moment. So make sure you like and share our broadcast. And while you're at it, subscribe to our channel. Hit that notification bell so that you'll always know when we are live. Follow us on any social media platform. Just search RSBN Network or RSB Network for exclusive updates that go straight to your inbox. We're on Facebook, Truth, Rumble, YouTube, all over the place. But we also have a nice newsletter, rsbnetwork.com/newsletter, if you're so interested. Text RSBN to 801-801 to stay connected. That is RSBN to 801-801. Of course, you can see Trump Force One and President Trump on the side of the screen there. Thank you for supporting RSBN and our endeavors to bring you the real coverage, start to finish, of each MAGA rally, and to get these patriots' views on what's happening on the ground. You'll hear from fake news ABC and the corporate media elites. They'll usually have a hit after a rally, and then they'll start off, I've heard it myself on the media risers, they'll say things like, oh, President Trump's attacking Kamala Harris again, simply for calling her a comrade, because she is a communist. Clearly, she wants to price gouge. If you saw that ridiculous interview on CNN with Dana Bash, a 16-minute interview with her and her running mate, apparently Tim, my grammar doesn't work so well, Waltz, is also trying to cover her in a blanket of protection because she can't memorize things. She can't stand on a platform. As I'm looking right now, Kamala Harris for president, KamalaHarris.com. You can donate. You can meet Kamala Harris. You can meet Tim Waltz, take action, go to the store, but there is no platform. If you go to DonaldJTrump.com, the 20 promises, his platform jumps right up, talking about the promises made, promises kept, what he will enact and what he will strengthen in a second Trump administration. An enjoyable evening tonight. Moms for Liberty, the mama bears who were called domestic terrorists by our own FBI, our federal government, going after them, especially in Virginia, simply for showing up at their children's school board meetings. 130,000 members, 300 chapters, momsforliberty.org. You can find your chapter or start a new one. There's a map of the entire country. These are nonpartisan warriors fighting for their school boards, fighting for their children's future, making sure that they have safe communities, fentanyl-free communities, and making sure there's not pornography in their children's libraries and schools, making sure that the transgender agenda fails when it comes to minor children and protecting them. Do not poke the mama bears. And Tiffany Justice doing an incredible job tonight moderating that event, asking President Trump some wonderful questions, covering so many topics on the campaign and his own personal life as well, and his prowess as not only a dad and a grandfather, but touching on the brilliant story of his parents and his mother, President Trump's mom, a legal immigrant from Scotland, and how much he has leaned on their teachings and them being family people. We also touched on the Trump children, whether it's Don or Eric or Ivanka. You have Tiffany and Barron doing incredible things in this world, and really you get incredible children by being an incredible father. And President Trump clearly glowing, talking about his family. But Tiffany Justice explained how they are a nonpartisan group, the Moms for Liberty, but she took it on herself to say, tonight, sir, right as she closed, I am endorsing you, Donald Trump, for President of the United States. An exciting moment. And of course, they danced off the stage. President Trump really enjoying that moment, as you saw Nikki Stanzione bringing great coverage. But let's be honest, folks, he is a cultural icon. They talked about The Apprentice, a show that lasted 14 seasons. He took us again, opening that curtain and talking about his life in entertainment, but also those life lessons that were brought in that form of reality television, building many businesses out of that and teaching the art of the deal to those contestants on that show. Also harking back to when he entered primetime politics, the big leagues, going up against Rosie O'Donnell, saying, when Megyn Kelly asked that question about, he saying that she has said things about, or that President Trump had said things that were, not so great, but then President Trump saying only Rosie O'Donnell, a funny moment. Brett Baer then asking about supporting the other Republican candidates, and he said he did not raise his hand because he did not know them. And from that moment on, a cultural icon, President Trump leading and bringing true masculinity back to the cultural discussion. It's been an honor to be with you. 2 doubleheaders back and forth from Michigan to Wisconsin to Pennsylvania to our nation's capital, Washington, D.C. For my colleagues here at RSBN, I'm Bobby McNeely, and we will see you very soon. Have a happy, safe, and healthy Labor Day weekend with your family and those you love. God bless you.
You ask and we listen. We're finally bringing the most requested offer ever. Get the queen size premium MyPillow, now only $19.98. MyPillow is made with patented adjustable fill. It adjusts to your exact individual needs regardless of your sleep position. It helps keep your neck aligned and holds its shape all night long so you get the best sleep of your life. But that's not all. Get our 6-piece kitchen or bath towel sets only $25. Our brand new mattress topper as low as $69.98. Get our famous MyPillow bed sheets for as low as $25 and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get huge discounts on all MyPillow products, including the premium queen-size MyPillow, only $19.98. That's the lowest price ever. Don't delay, order today. From all of us here at MyPillow, thanks America!
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
Welcome to the Right Side Broadcasting Network. We're not like the other media outlets out there that cut and edit what other people say. 2015, we were created by our founder, Joe Seals, to cover President Donald J. Trump's speeches and rallies, to which we continue to do to this day. We've also covered important conservative events like CPAC, TPUSA, March for Life, and many other important events and hearings around the country. We were made for people like you, everyday Americans who are tired of the mainstream media, who are tired of being lied to, manipulated, and fed an agenda. Our goal here at Right Side Broadcasting is to allow you to see the truth, giving our correspondents and commentators a wide latitude to speak their minds. You won't find anything like this in the mainstream media. Your support through your donations, locals, and supporting our advertisers allows us to continue to cover important events around the country each and every day. So, from us here at Right Side Broadcasting, thank you for supporting us and the right side of history.
Hi folks, this is RSBN founder and CEO Joe Seals here. In these crazy times, there is peace of mind and security. Security for our country, security for our leaders, and security for our families. But think about this. If you have all your eggs in one basket, you are not financially secure. Gold and silver are an excellent way to diversify your savings. They're a hedge against inflation. And through my friends at the Birch Gold Group, you can own physical gold and silver in a tax-sheltered retirement account. There's one thing you can do today to secure your family's savings. Just text the word Trump to 989898 and receive a free info kit on gold. Plus, in August only, on any purchase you make, Birch Gold is giving away free Trump silver coins. This brand new one-of-a-kind silver coin features Trump boldly raising his fist in the moments after the attempt on his life. You don't want to miss your chance to own this special piece of history, a celebration of a leader dedicated to our security preserved in the security of a precious metals coin. So secure your savings today and get your free Trump silver coins. Text Trump to 989898 today. That's Trump to the number 989898.